Use the YouTube chapters to skip to what information you need the most. I'm not going to say it again, but that is going to be your most helpful friend that you can get. Please use those. I'm going to be doing some irrelevant stuff here at the top. I'm going to be talking to stuff that doesn't apply to everyone and not exactly relevant to the title. So please, if you want to start off with the first section here, or technically this is the first section, I guess, please use the YouTube chapters. They're very simple. I'm going to have everything labeled very nice for you. The editing is going to be 5,000 hours because it's a 73-page document with 1,000 things to cover, and I'm going to be reading all of it word for word for you, my friend. I'm going to be taking all my brain cells and eviscerating them for your convenience, my friend. This is the full Bionano due diligence. We're going to be going everything that you can think of. Of course, I can forget something. It's boring. I can not include things, multiple sittings. That's something you want to consider. But without further ado, I'm going to start reading word for word everything, and I will be elaborating on a lot of things and going on tangents and rants because I have been known to do that often. So here we go. Please read or watch at least some or most of this document before commenting on something that you think I overlooked, as it is probably brought up at a different time because nearly everything has its own section to avoid a few humongous paragraphs with everything in them. That being said, it is still humongous and the most ambitious project I've ever done. I think that is why I think you are going to think it's boring if you do it in one sitting. That's why multiple sittings is certainly a good option. I can forget or not include things. Please consider this when you comment, and your attitude in commenting, disliking, not liking, commenting, whatever, support, sabotaging the channel, please consider this, all right? If you have a different opinion, that is great. Please be sure to let me know. We can try to find some common ground. Please do not feel like you have to dislike and sabotage the channel just because you are not as bullish or bearish as I am, or if we disagree slightly on something, that's fine. That's absolutely fine, my friends. But please try to watch or at least read some of this. I'm going to have the PDF document linked for you. So read all of this or watch at least a lot of it before you go and say, hey, you're wrong about this. Because as I said, it's going to be brought up most likely just in a different section because we've got 1,000 different things to cover. And I don't want to do just one humongous paragraph, my friends. To those who will attempt to watch all of this, may the force be with you. Contents: introductory overview of the company, product intro, as well included in that financials, markets, future catalysts, understanding the Saphyr, FDA approval, cancer, management sentiment, insider ownership, competition, Simon Barnett and ARC, Saphyr innovations, history, and why we started rising, management credentials, future, risks, analyst price targets, market manipulation, and short interest, analysts' thoughts, marketing, institutional ownership, miscellaneous. Everything that I didn't cover here is probably going to be there, if anything. My plan and my price target, and what I'm doing with all this information, all my sources, auspicious dissenT, disclaimers, and then there's the end. There's some mystery in these auspicious dissenT and the end ones you'll be able to see there, my friend. It's very cool stuff. Anyways, important information and need to know acronyms. If you don't know anything about economic theories or business theories, like differential advantages, comparative advantages, economies of scale, flywheel effect, learning curve. I mean, these are not even economic rules and principles. The Pareto effect, the Pareto principle that I don't even use in here, but that applies as well. A lot of this stuff is esoteric. Go read at Too Long Didn't Focus. Too Long, that's what TLDF means. Pump and dump claims. I'm not pump and dumping because I'm going to be showing my selling and buying all my transactions on my YouTube channel every day. I do daily updates on stocks every day, and Bionano 6 out of 7 days typically. So I don't want to hear any of that. Anyways, I'm not going to go over all of this. If you want to, go read all this. If you think you don't know what the total addressable market is, the serviceable available market, the serviceable obtainable market, any of this stuff, go read this stuff. Also, some of this stuff, if you're going to read the PDF document instead, make sure you give this a quick skim before you get started. Speaking of, let's go ahead and do it. May the force be with you. Good luck to everyone who's going to try to watch this. Here we go. Let's do it. Basic overview of BNGO Bionano Genomics. Being the only major player in the optical genome mapping space, Bionano has revolutionized genomics by detecting large structural variations in genomes by reducing the cost per genome, the time of operation, and increasing the detection rate. All of this while providing a relatively simple platform, more simple than all of the others, to work from when detecting large structural variations, rendering the esoteric nature of operating long-read sequencing, short-read sequencing, and next-generation sequencing for large structural variation detection completely obsolete in many ways. Their Saphyr system allows researchers and clinicians to accelerate the research for new diagnostics and therapeutic targets. Quote from Bionano's website: large structural variations are responsible for many diseases and conditions, including cancers and developmental disorders. Optical genome mapping with Saphyr detects structural variations ranging from 500 base pairs to mega base pairs in length, and offers assembly and discovery algorithms that far outperform sequencing-based technologies in sensitivity. Their next-generation genome mapping and analysis tools help researchers see true genome structure to fill in what is missing from sequencing-based data. Saphyr, their high-speed, high-throughput whole genome mapping solution, offers unmatched structural variation discovery capabilities and the ability to construct the most complete genome assemblies. The Saphyr system by Bionano Genomics is a genome imaging tool for high-speed, high-throughput structural variation detection and analysis with exceptional sensitivity and specificity. And I know that a lot of this stuff is the same, just worded different. There's not really much of an overview that I can do besides kind of saying this stuff. So I'm trying to drive the point home there, and this stuff is a little bit different. So in all, right, here's a chart if you're a more visual learner. So all in all, too long didn't focus, right? What does this stuff actually mean, right? What's the plain English? We're going to get some ape language, some nice, sweet, plain, some ape language for you, my friends. But first, too long didn't focus, right? This is for like this kind of advanced people, and this is for my apes out there, which I totally appreciate and love all of the apes out there. I analyze genomes and produce maps which enable researchers to find information that could be crucial for helping drug enhancements, preventative care, cures, susceptibility awareness, and more. And for what everyone's been waiting for, what the heck does this actually mean? I still don't understand it. What actually is it? In the most simple language as possible, right? Saphyr finds some things in genomes more efficiently than traditional technologies, right? Saphyr is a technology to find stuff. It does it better than the normal stuff. So yes, it is cool. We may moon, but actually, in my opinion, not primarily because of the basic function of Saphyr. First section, the financials, 2021 revenue projections, profitability, cash runway. Here is the video detailing all of this basically, or at least the start of this. If you want to do that on the PDF, you can click on that. So the first thing you need to understand here when doing the 2021 revenue projections, the average here, that's what I'm basing that we're going to get on average based on the last 4 years of total revenue. That's what I'm assuming we're going to get. If nothing were to change, if there was nothing different about this year, but we obviously have several different things that are different. That's what all of these ones are. That's the reasoning and the things that are different this year than all of the previous year that are likely to cause increased total revenue in 2021. Number one, Lineagen acquisition, right? We acquired them in August 2021, right? So we only had 5 months of work, less than 5 months, in an increased regulatory environment. Okay, they brought in $1.5 million in revenue. You double that because there's 12 months in a year, you get $3 million. You add a small bit more because 2021 is likely, not necessarily, but likely to have less COVID restrictions. Also, of course, you get the extra 2 months in there. So basically, conservatively estimating what I came out to be, I'm trying to be conservative here, $3.2 million from extra 2 months and less COVID restriction benefits. Okay, so that's what I'm expecting in extra revenue because of the Lineagen acquisition. And this is something that we did not have in the last 4 previous years. So I'm adding, this is the average in the last 4 years. This is the new stuff. So this is the total new revenue that we're projecting for 2021. Number 2, benefit of cash equals new opportunities. Unlike every single year past, right? Bionano now finally has cash for marketing, more acquisitions, research and development, plenty of catalysts to look forward to, which we have an entire section for, right? We have an entire section for going over every single catalyst. This is just some of them. Plenty of catalysts, including but not limited to, right? 2.0 Saphyr / higher throughput Saphyr, the use in prenatal and postnatal screening, more Saphyr sales, and cytogenetic space penetration. Also, Chief Financial Advisor Chris Stewart said that Bionano believes its cash stockpile, quote, significantly de-risks the company, solidifies their financial future, and allows us to focus, or I guess, okay, our financial future to stay consistent with the quotes, and allows us to focus on the achievement of our long-term vision to disrupt genomics through the global adoption of Saphyr. You can, if you want to fact check me there, just type in, just copy and paste the quote into a Google search, and you'll find it's from the earnings report transcript. So 13 million plus 1.5 million. That this number is what I'm expecting based on this stuff right here, benefit of cash with new opportunity, all of this stuff. This is what I'm expecting based on this, because this is obviously they've never had cash for this stuff. I'm expecting they're going to get an added $1.5 million in revenue because of this. $14,734,750 is what our total is at now. Number 3, more recognition equals more recognition. Domino effect kind of. Please hear me out on this one before you go and commenting down. Oh, you suck, Brandon. Brandio's going to zero. Chill out for a second. Hear me out, my friends. This is actually a legitimate reason here. So, as more and more labs and universities and whatnot adopt and approve Saphyr's capability and efficiency, right? Like African Genetic Lab, just a week ago when I wrote this, it was a week ago. Okay, obviously that's like 3 to 4 to a month now ago now, and we also have the UK adoption as well, which I'm not factoring in either. Others would do the same. Why would they do the same, Brandon? That's a good question. I think it would be similar to how Bitcoin got and is getting more recognition from the mainstream as more places adopt it. Bionano has never had interest like it has now, nor I'm not long-term, macroscopically, right? Not short-term. compared to the last few years. They've never had interest like now. It is, and nor has it ever had the exposure or popularity it currently has, and they will continue to gain and, in my opinion, capitalize on the added attention. 14 million plus 1.5 million, roughly, okay, not 14 million, 14 million and all this, okay, it equals 16 million. This is what I'm expecting added based on this, because basically, to explain this a little more, okay, if you're a neighbor, if you're an institution or a researcher that uses the long read sequencing, short read sequencing, whatever, your neighbor or some friend or someone that you know, a peer, right, anyone that you know that's in your field gets the Saphyr, what do you think happens? You wonder. If you're that person, you wonder, they just got new equipment. Is it cool? And it's totally different, right? Everyone, they're going to notice, okay, Saphyr, optical genomics, that's totally different than what we used to have. What I'm using now, they're going to wonder, is it good? They're going to wonder, hey, should I ask them how it is? I should probably. I should go see if that's something that I should add to my arsenal to level up my game as a researcher in whatever the heck they're doing, right? So this is basically it's not word of mouth, but it's just the effect that you will get in a field when you start penetrating it, which as more time goes on, right, we are going unless something crazy happens, unless the CEO gets shot in the head or something crazy happens, nuclear explosion, right, insane, Fallout 4 in real life, right, something crazy it would take for Bionano's adoptions and Saphyr adoptions to not go like this, right, steadily up. Something crazy would have to happen to change that, in my opinion. So this is going to be at 1.5 million extra in revenue. 16 million is what we're totaling now based on this, based on this, based on this. Number 4, COVID recovery equals more work time. And remember, we are in the first section here, and just look at the timestamps if you are confused about what section we are, because there's so many different lists and so many different things, and we have a 73-page document. Those are all things that may confuse a little bit, so definitely use those YouTube chapters to your advantage, my friends. Less lockdowns, less COVID tests, less employee absence caused by COVID, less hand washing. You may be wondering, Brandon, why the heck would hand washing lead to $1 million in more revenue? Well, not necessarily this, but you factor all this stuff together and you remember that, hey, time is money, and every time you wash your hands, if you do that every day, one extra time because of COVID, compared to when you don't have COVID, that's like 5-10 minutes a day, or maybe not 5, but if you do it multiple times, 5-10 minutes a day that you're not working, that you would otherwise be directly affecting the amount of supply you have for the work, right? You would be working and maybe doing advancements, maybe getting innovation, right? Technology enhancements, right? All of these different things, and I'm not necessarily a couple of them. Okay, work time is money, guys. Work time is money. You guys know this, and also sanitary precautions and tasks. So this is going to be $1 million if COVID recovery is going to actually happen. I assume it will, at least a little bit. It already has a little bit, right? So I'm expecting now 17 million in revenue. So number 5, 2021 releases and commercializations, right? This is very broad. It expects to obtain accreditation for Saphyr-based laboratory-developed tests for acute lymphocytic leukemia. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. And I'm not even going to try with that. Muscular dystrophy, FSHD, in some European markets in Q2. This is a quote. I don't really understand what this is. I guess it's okay. I don't understand some of this stuff. Okay, I'm not an expert on this disease. I'm not an expert on muscular dystrophy or leukemia. I'm just a guy putting the due diligence together for you. So this is the quote. This is the source, right? You can go look at the PDF for all my sources. Number 2, another quote. The company plans a commercial release of prenatal assays and an expansion of the menu of its pediatric assays in Q3. This is a quote from another article here, but it's basically just from the BNGO earnings report. I will put my reputation in saying both of these are true. I've looked at the earnings report, and it's 100% true. You can just go look up BNGO earnings report, or just go to their website and look at the earnings report. Just look up earnings report transcript for Bionano and just Control F and find Q3 pediatric assays, right? Prenatal assays, right? This stuff, you'll find this stuff easily if you want to fact check. The fourth quarter of 2021 will be an especially busy one. Bionano anticipates it's the validation of its 3 laboratory-developed tests with billing codes. It also expects to have a prototype of next generation high-throughput Saphyr system ready, right? So this is amazing. This is amazing stuff that we have, and this is just reasons why this is a revenue increase in stuff that they did not have before, right? 2020 releases and commercialization. None of this stuff was going on before. None of this stuff was contributing to their 2020 through 2016 or 2017 revenue. No way, man. They weren't working on a Saphyr 2.0. If all goes according to plan, Bionano will finish this year with a much larger installed base. The company projects they will have 150 Saphyr system installed by the end of Q4 2021. That represents a 50% jump from the end of 2020. And that is all. Okay, this right here, these points are basically, these are technically quotes from the BNGO earnings report, basically. I think I might have changed a little bit of wording to make it a little more simple for you, but all of this stuff is from the Bionano earnings report. This is the quote quotes right here, I believe. So, and you can go look on their earnings report to see exactly right. I may have changed like a little bit of spacing issues and changed the formatting, right? So that's why I don't have the quotes. But anyways, Q4 2021 interim publication of results of pediatric clinical studies, validation of 3 laboratory developed tests total with billing codes, right? That's kind of what we saw over there, what we went over there briefly in both our prenatal clinical study, prototype of next generation high throughput Saphyr, and in total, this is going to represent a $4 million increase in revenue, which seems like a lot, but I mean, are you kidding me? When you get this prototype, when they get their Saphyr 2.0, if they do, right? They said they do, and I'm assuming they will. Every single customer that wants a higher throughput Saphyr, which is all of them that are doing any sort of volume, which the CEO said, yes, they're doing lots of samples. They would like a more higher throughput so they can get more work done in the small amount of time that they have. When they do that, every single person that has a Saphyr is going to have to buy a new Saphyr that is the higher throughput and with a nano nozzle, potentially with new innovation, potentially, right? We're going to get into that. We've got 1,000 sections and 1,000 things to get to, right? We've got, I think I have nano nozzle listed in here. Yeah, right here, Saphyr 2.0 and innovations nano nozzle. That's number 11 on the contents here. So that is that all these are possibilities, and all in all, this is going to be $4 million extra in revenue for me. In my opinion, 17 million plus that equals 21 million, and I'm not even factoring in the Africa adoptions or the UK adoptions or the chemotherapeutic drug enhancements they were talking about in the UK article or a ton of other recent news. I'm not counting in any of that. That's why this is a very conservative estimate, and I would rather underpromise and overdeliver. But at the same time, I also want to give you guys my honest opinions, which is why I'm saying this is probably overly conservative. I wouldn't be surprised if the actual revenue was much higher than 21 million. More than a 150% increase year over year, because last year was $8 million, $8.5 million in revenue was last year, 2020 for Bionano Genomics. So. But this is the 2021 analyst projection. Here's your source, Simply Wall Street. I'm going to stop going over the sources, okay? Because you can just go to the PDF document and fact check me if you want, my friends. Feel free to fact check me, my friends, and go do digging and hours of work like I did. I guess not hours, but still do some nice, fun digging for you if you want to fact check me. Anyways, yeah, this is a little okay. I'm extra conservative, trying to be extra conservative at least. Contrarian points probably bears objections to the above. I'm not actually going to go over this. If you want to see me debunk some of these, right? Lockdowns don't decrease work efficiency. Analysts know more than retail investors. What's your track record? What's all this stuff? Okay, I go over some of this stuff in the rest of the video, but if you want to see a debunking of these bare points, go to the PDF and click that and start at 1740. Some orthodox points according to Simply Wall Street. Revenue is projected to grow about 47.7% per year, according to Simply Wall Street, and it is going to be faster than the U.S. market. It's almost 10% per year. Another point, forecast to remain unprofitable over the next 3 years. I'm literally just listing some points that are important from Simply Wall Street. They could be wrong. They are that's their Simply Wall Street's reputation is on these points. You can go fact check me. They're all there on Bionano's page for Simply Wall Street. Relatively slow earnings per share growth. I mean, it's not relatively slow, but it's relatively slow to what I think it's going to be. But in terms of regular orthodox growth, it's not slow. They're going to be positive by 2025. Short-term assets is this. It exceeds their short-term liabilities, and they also exceed the long-term liabilities. Their debt is this. Sufficient cash runway for more than a year based on its current free cash flow. And remember, these are all just quotes or paraphrases from Simply Wall Street. This is not my opinions. These are just facts from Simply Wall Street. Less than a year of cash runway if free cash flow continues to reduce at historical rates of 16.4% each year. According to the Molly Fool, its equipment needs a constant supply of kits for customers to get the data they crave, so its revenue has a significant reoccurring component which will grow with time as it develops more and more options for applications. My extrapolation, right? This is what everyone wants to see. What do you think about this, Gabe Brandon? Because you know more about I do, or at least the average person. This is what they want to know. What do I think with all of this, right? And we are going to get. I have a too long didn't read or too long didn't focus and ape language section for all of these, so you don't have to worry. And I'll have the timestamps for those as well. With revenue expected to grow between 100 and 150% year over year, and a historical stable decrease in cost of revenue, we can expect a much higher earnings per share and revenue growth than Simply Wall Street analysts have projected. However, this is the if. Operating expenses continue to keep rising. If that happens, then we could see a revenue and earnings per share growth similar to that of the analyst projection, which is still 100% annual growth, right? Compared to 2020, we're still getting 100% growth nearly, at least 95, 99% revenue growth year over year. So that's not necessarily a horrible thing. Of course, I don't think it's going to happen, but that's just my opinion. I could be wrong. Not necessarily, though, in regards to if this actually happens, we still could be seeing my revenue if the revenue keeps increasing at the current pace, a pace which is not possible to be kept perpetually, but I believe it could be prolonged for at at least a few years. If Bionano's bull case, right? I don't have a specific bull case in the contents here, just because I think it's pretty clear on each single one of these points, and I can talk about it a little bit of that at the end, maybe. If we get a couple events going Bionano's way, like some cancer stuff, some cool cancer catalysts, some chemotherapeutic drug enhancements, like we're going to talk about, we could easily prolong this stuff. And if they're expensive, if they just keep, throwing money out the window, just keep being super inefficient with stuff, which is very unlikely considering the flywheel effect and the learning curve. If that stuff does happen, though, we could still be fine potentially. Too long, didn't focus. There is an extremely high chance that revenue will grow more than 100% year over year, and a high chance of getting closer to 130 to 150% growth given the above. But of course, there are contingencies for this. If you guys are super bullish and you think I'm just pumping, please go to the 15th section there. I'll have the timestamps for you, or you can go to the PDF document. Markets and potential markets, total addressable market, serviceable available market, and serviceable obtainable market, and future TAM, SAM, and SOM. Basically, I'm listing all of the revenue sources and markets that we can tap into and penetrate, basically. So think of this as just demand, if you will. Maybe that'll be a little more simple for you. So demand, where is the demand coming? What is the total addressable market? What are the things that make that up, right? Where is the Saphyr potentially going to be used? Number one, the Saphyr and Bionano's products, right? I mean, the Saphyr and the consumables of the software with it, that's all they have, right? That's all their products. So genetic labs, universities, research and development companies, hospitals, scientific institutions, unorthodox educational facilities, nonprofit hospital system, example right here. So cytogenetics is number two. That fits into the genetic labs. $500 to $600 million from selling Saphyr to cytogenetic labs for diagnostic purposes, along with, and this is not what has happened, this is just if we were to do this, along with annual reoccurring revenues of $200 million to $400 million. There are over 2,500 such labs around the world, the company estimates. So that's kind of a little bit about the total addressable market. Or honestly, okay, yeah, this is probably more serviceable available market rather than either of these two, right? Because this one is what you realistically can get. This one is what you cannot realistically get whatsoever, and this one's kind of the middleman, if you will. Go look at the definitions if you don't know what any of this means. This is a little bit complicated here, but stay with me. Total addressable market of cytogenetics, according to the CEO Eric Holmlund of Bionano, in the earnings report call, right? It's around $3 billion, which he said was attributed to all genetic labs, essentially, right? But as we know, genetic labs is only one out of like 10 or 11 total things that I have here listed in the market section. So we know that because the total addressable market definition, it's not, if you want to say total addressable market of cytogenetics, that's great. But if you want to say total addressable market of Bionano is $3 billion, that is not right if you consider anything other than genetic labs and cytogenetics, right? Because, I mean, what about all of the other things that we're going to cover here? So I'm going to let the cat out of the bag here. Bionano's total addressable market, it's way higher than $3 billion, my friends. And remember the definition of it. To sum it up, it's basically the total market demand of anything that is in your field or niche, if you will. It's a little more complicated than that, and I'll have sources for the definitions of that if you want to read more on that. But that's essentially what you need to know, right? Anyways, which he said was attributed to all genetic labs, essentially. But there are many more markets that increase the total addressable market, not necessarily this, okay, blah, blah, yada, yada, significantly, right? So you can read this if you want. Although Bionano is intentionally left out of the list of contributors to genomic sequencing for obvious reasons, Bionano does optical genome mapping, not next-generation sequencing, short-read sequencing, or long-read sequencing, right? No, we do not do that stuff. What Bionano does is optical genome mapping, and the market that the Saphyr could disrupt, for reasons discussed throughout this entire thread, is projected to grow at a nice, okay, this can be a little confusing if you don't see the parentheses here. Let me read that in a more clear way for the people that are not watching and only listening. The market that the Saphyr could disrupt is projected to grow at a nice compound annual growth rate of 9%. So basically, yes, this last one is a little bit off topic, a little bit, I guess, if you consider it. I mean, you could consider that, I guess. But basically, the demand is only going to get higher as the technology gets better and as there's more actual things that we can learn that are needed. You know, if there's nothing cool that you can do, no one's going to want to do it. No one wants a product that doesn't give you some sort of nice new thing that wasn't done before, or as long as you do it some better way, you got to have something new, something better, something more efficient. As we kind of get better, obviously, we're going to have more demand because of this, but I think Bionano does have a chance of disrupting this market here. That is going to not next generation sequencing, long-run sequencing. Okay, we're going to get into that more, but the compound annual growth rate is high. So the market that Bionano could potentially disrupt is growing fast. That is a good thing. And the total addressable market, we're going to get into more of this, of the total addressable market of Bionano is way bigger than 3 billion. And this is just one of the several things, genetic labs. This is just one of several markets for Bionano. So non-invasive prenatal testing. Now, this is a little bit more hyper-specific. Okay, you could take this and put it under this. I guess you could. I mean, you could. I guess because it's hospitals is included in this. So technically, it does. But this is kind of more specific. Now, what is? Can we actually? What actually is? Going one step further, if you will. Okay, so let's go over this. Susceptibility of diseases, proclivity for this sickness or that one, offers the individual a chance to take action and mitigate an increased risk for them at a young age. The benefits of this are not researched heavily. Obvious reasons, because that just has not happened yet, right? We don't have non-invasive prenatal screening yet. We don't have a lot of that stuff going. It's a new thing, relatively. But one can assume that it could be absolutely revolutionizing for health quality, life expectancy of wellness, especially if you can get them at a young age. I mean, that's insane, right? You literally can tell people what you're going to be more susceptible to, what you need to worry about as far as sicknesses, as far as viruses, what your body's going to be good at doing, what it's not good at doing, right? What is your immune system? What was it, the strength, weaknesses, all these sort of things. And I'm not necessarily telling you that non-invasive prenatal screening is going to be able to analyze your immune system and tell you what you're best at, but I'm just saying there are revolutionizing health benefits that could come from this. I think that's 100% sure, in my opinion. There's a chance for it. Wide range of various crucial information non-invasive prenatal screening can discover. Optical genome mapping could disrupt this industry and or provide enhancements to the technology capabilities of long-read sequencing, short-read sequencing, and next-generation sequencing. So postnatal screening, again, this one is a little bit more hyper-specific, if you will. Validation studies of hematological malignancies and postnatal constitutional disorders have progressed nicely, and management anticipates having data from no-call reflex testing and non-invasive postnatal screening later this year and next year for solid tumors. So yeah, this kind of coincides with the last one, right? These two, I mean, they're very similar, right? Prenatal and postnatal, they're very, very similar. So yeah, technically they are both kind of subcategories of genetic labs because they are included. They are hospitals, right? That's where they would be used mostly, but not necessarily, right? I mean, well, technically we could get some sort of product that's like, I don't know what, check cap sort of product where instead of having to go to the doctor for a test, you can just take a pill for a test instead of maybe. Now this is a stretch, but something crazy down the line, innovation, learning curve, flywheel effect, right? All these things. Maybe in the future you can get a non-invasive prenatal screening test. We can get it down to such a non-esoteric level and such a simple level that you could literally just have like a little kit like the Bionano, ship it out to people. They do their own test on their young or on their kids or whatever. Now I know this is prenatal, so it's like, wait, how are you going to do that? No, you're going to be at the hospital, right? When it's prenatal, right? But not necessarily. But there's still a chance for that. Okay, if you're following me at all in that synthesis, I know that's a little out there, but technically these two do fit into these. So technically, I guess you could say these are actually real markets. I guess because they are real markets. They're just included in this. So why is it its own point? I guess you could say it's just these. I would say these topics here, they are so big that I think they should have their own category. Anyways, enough getting sidetracked. Right, autism. Okay, so CEO, the wide spectrum of genetic variation between individuals with ASD makes it difficult for traditional tests to provide a diagnosis of the genetic condition. We expect optical genome mapping with Saphyr to reveal a more complete picture of genomic variants that provides actionable information that can potentially improve outcomes. There's your source. The company has already made breakthroughs in the space. It is my belief that the flywheel effect could come into play here. Optical genome mapping is a relatively new space, given that it essentially only has one real company devoting its time to it, right? Only one company devoting its time to optical genome mapping. There's innovation left on the table, man. It may be likely that as researchers become more experienced, the learning curve will play an important role, aka as they kind of learn what works, what doesn't, what the proclivities are, what the esoteric crap is, the rules that you have to remember when analyzing genomes, right? All this stuff. As the learning curve kind of starts to play into the effect here. They're going to be more efficient. They're going to be able to do more in less time and find out more, find more revolutionizing things. And at the end of the day, that's that's Bionano's thing, right? Finding innovative things, making breakthroughs, making things more efficient, cost less, right? Large SV detection at a lower cost than PacBio and Illumina, right? So, or not, but PacBio for sure and Illumina, right? They do it cheaper than anyone, right? Large SV detection, at least with the Saphyr. Also, understanding a whole genome and how it replicates may give us rudimentary knowledge of how they develop and how to stop it. Possible cures, preventatives, medications. About 1% of the world population has autism spectrum disorder. Prevalence in the United States is estimated at 1 in 59 births. More than 3.5 million Americans live with an autism spectrum disorder. This is just talking about the potential demand for this market. Now, technically, this still falls in, right? All of these non-invasive prenatal screening and postnatal screening, these kind of you could definitely consider those subpoints of genetic labs, because hospitals, they are mostly done in hospitals. That's where the care is being done. You can consider that, but I just think these topics are large enough and broad enough to kind of expand upon, because the market is there. I mean, yes, these are technically, they fit into that category, but these are markets that have a ton of demand and breakthroughs and money to be made there, man. I mean, I think this stuff is worth a deeper look. Obviously, I made this whole thing with it, right? But talking a little bit about autism, right? There's a big market, obviously, and this one, it's the same sort of thing that you're going to hear with a lot of these. The learning curve is going to affect it, and the optical genome mapping newbie-ness, if you will, right? It's not an experienced. They're not experienced, right? The people in optical genome mapping, yes, they might have a couple of years. Eric Holman's been around for a while, right? Bionano's been public since 2018 and around since 2003. Relatively, compared to long-read sequencing and next-generation sequencing. I mean, the innovation and the time for them to improve upon, I feel like something with the amount of time that they're working and the innovation is going to come into play, right? Long read sequencing innovation, their innovation was nothing near what it is now 10 years ago, right? So in 10 years from the future today, who knows what optical genome mapping is going to look like, if that makes sense. So basically, the more time we have for autism research, and all of these, this applies to all of them, the more time we have, the more likely we are to get breakthroughs and more efficient and more making stuff obsolete, right? More markets, right? So I know there's a lot there, but read the PDF if you want. If I'm going a little too fast or a little too all over the place for you. Neurodegenerative diseases, Alzheimer's, ALS, and possibly others. This doctor used long-read sequencing. This is a quote, so I guess I'll go ahead and try to pronounce this guy's name. Dr. Ebert uses long-read sequencing and Bionano whole genome imaging because it can identify large structural mutations that cause disease. Many individuals who have neurodegenerative diseases such as AD and ALS do not have a known genetic cause. And studies to date have focused on short-read sequencing, overlooking disease-causing structural mutations, right? Bionano Saphyr, that's what can actually look them, right, without overlooking them, right? It provides the potential of long-read sequencing now. Okay, so that's a quote. I don't really understand that long part. That Bionano provides the potential of long-read sequencing now. They have potential that is more than long-read sequencing. I'll say that. But anyways, point B here: more than 3 million Alzheimer's cases per year, and around 20,000 ALS cases per year in the U.S. And both of these are in the U.S., right? So global market, and of course they are trying to do the global market too, right? We've seen Africa adoptions, UK adoptions. I think it's that the CEO said it was around 75-25. Or 80-20 as far as US split, and then global split, US being the higher number in both scenarios. So this is so the market is even bigger, right? Because I'm just a factor in the US, right? So the market is there for Alzheimer's, not so much for ALS, but still not something to ignore there. 20,000 cases, 20,000 potential clients. Are you kidding me? That could get their genome analyzed and then potentially get some knowledge as to what they need to do and how bad this is. Just finding out things that normal traditional technologies cannot. I mean, solutions, cures. How should you take your medication? Can we or improving medication, right? Chemotherapeutic drug enhancements. That's what the article was talking about. I did not even bring that up. That's the article. That we're going to get into that. But anyways, to sum this one up, there's a whole market there. So technically all these kind of fit under the genetic lab thing, but I just do not see the total addressable market according to the CEO. I don't know if he meant he said just for cytogenetics, and cytogenetics is not the only market for Bionano. It's absolutely not the only market. There's no reasonable coherent way you can say that. I mean, just look at all these other things we have here. We're not even halfway done, right? Anyways, the market is much higher because of these things. Next up, we're going to leukemia. Dr. Alexander H. reported the results of a successful validation study comparing the performance of Bionano Genomics Saphyr system to traditional cytogenetic methods for the clinical analysis of leukemia genomes. The study, published in Bio R to the 5th, I think this is. It's what their little thing is in the what they're doing, a category in the study. Okay, you can go search it and you'll know what I mean. Found that Saphyr was 100% concordant with the standard of care for detection of somatic chromosomal abnormalities, and that is a quote. We are positively surprised by the smooth and fast implementation of the Saphyr system in our laboratory. Less than a year of training, we now have successfully run more than 150 samples, including the 48 leukemia samples, which we now present in this publication. Other samples include novel research findings for unsolved rare disease causes, cases, and known cytogenetic abnormalities, which may validate the Saphyr system's use for constitutional aberrations. I mean, that's a whole nother market by itself, right? Leukemia research and potential breakthroughs, right? And enhancing that medicine there. Yes, this is cytogenetics. Yes, this falls under that, but there is more markets here that we're going to get into that are not just cytogenetics, and this is a great market that we could obviously penetrate here. So next up, breakthrough findings in leukemia presented at ASH 2019. Yes, 2019. Yes, but this is a good study here, and it is relevant. It demonstrates Bionano Saphyr's potential to replace all cytogenetic methods and show additional clinical unity. And talking a little bit about the demand here, about 61,000 new cases of leukemia and about 23,000 deaths from leukemia. There's your source right there. So there's a market here for this one as well. Not as big as Alzheimer's potentially, maybe, right? But a fairly big market there. Number 7, cancer. It has its whole section devoted to it. So I'm just gonna go ahead and leave that it's where it's at now, right? Because we have a whole cancer section there, my friends. Anyways, Miscellaneous and other recording on Nasdaq.com. Kevin DeGeter's positive outlook for the company is partly based on Saphyr's potential to impact other markets beyond cytogenetics for hematological malignancies, right? Ones where the use of microarrays, FSH, and karyotyping, another type of genetic analysis, right? I'm not too deep into these. Okay, I could have said something wrong there. I'm not an expert. Remember, I'm not an expert, guys. Results in long and expensive analytical decision trees. That's a quote. So you heard it from Kevin DeGeter himself. The potential to impact other markets beyond cytogenetics for hematological malignancies. So you heard it there first, and that's not for me. That's something that you would likely hear me say in one of our videos, right? That's a quote from Kevin DeGeter, an analyst with a very nice track record that we are going to go over. B here, correcting and discovering genetic abnormalities. Aids for medicines discovered by analyzing whole genomes of diseases that we are oblivious to currently, my friends. This is just, I mean, there's so much here. It's self-explanatory, but it's also at the same time, it's like I could go on and rant on and do a tangent on this for like 5 years. I mean, you do know how many diseases and people this could affect if they could go and correct a genetic abnormality that causes X or A or Y, right? Whatever, pick your disease that you want, right? Autism, leukemia, FSHD, the muscular dystrophy one, the Alzheimer's, ALS, right? Neurodegenerative, right? All these different markets, cancer, okay? You name it, man. There are markets here beyond cytogenetics. We're going to get more into my claims there in a second. Uses, according to Bionano themselves, right? Undiagnosed genetic disorders, hematologic malignancies, gene discovery and therapy, gene therapy, that's something that we never really talk about. Cell line stability, solid tumor research. We haven't really seen any studies on tumor research, to my knowledge at least. Genetic engineering studies, evolutionary biology, that's something that we don't do too much. Reference genome assembly. Also, number 10, this was an article. There was a lot of articles on this, actually. There's a couple, and they're pretty recent too. IVF/infertility aids, right? This one is more potential right now, but the authors not only illustrated that the Bionano Saphyr system was a useful and rapid tool for refining the translocation breakpoints to the gene level, they also address the potential application of selecting embryos for infertile, whatever, patients receiving IVF based on Bionano analysis. The authors not only illustrated that the Bionano Saphyr system was a useful and rapid tool for refining the translocation breakpoints to the gene level, they also addressed the potential application of selecting embryos for infertile patients receiving IVF based on Bionano analysis. So you can see here, this is a totally different market. I mean, this is not really, we're not really in cytogenetic territory necessarily here. I mean, yes, it's related. Everything that the Saphyr does is cytogenetic related, right? Because we're doing cells, biology, chromosome type stuff. But this is more far off than what Eric himself has in mind, I believe. So this is definitely a potential market to keep in mind here. Also, we have more here. We're not even done. The SMOM, a little product here, but used on the Bionano platform. That's a quote. That's a quote as well, but they didn't word this exactly right. I would have had to use like 2-3 more sentences if I were to get all this. So I just did this. Has potential clinical application as a rapid tool to screen patients with BRTs for underlying genetic causes of infertility and other diseases. Okay, so this is just great. This is just great stuff here. Anyways, yeah, Bionano's market here. It's very. I shouldn't say promising, but that's what I'm going to say. I'm going to say it's promising. But of course, there's a chance that none of this could happen. So keep that in mind. Additionally, one of the labs will also evaluate Saphyr for the detection of structural variations, large SVs, or I guess not even large, just structural variations, both maybe, in patients with developmental delay, infertility, rare disease, and other genetic diseases. This is what we see all the time, right? They're going to use the Bionano Saphyr to look for stuff with all of this stuff. I mean, this is such a wide range of markets that we can and demand and potential revenue streams that are coming in here. This is kind of what I was talking about with, hey, we have a higher total addressable market than 3 billion based on what I'm seeing. Bonus here, just a reminder that analyzing Saphyr's data requires other products that are not cheap, and these do not last forever. This means reoccurring purchases will be periodically happening. Plus the Saphyr 2.0, all customers who wish to have the 1,400 times higher throughput Saphyr will need to purchase that. Also, when I was talking about other markets other than cytogenetics, how about the software market, right? You have to have a software to process Bionano. How about the chips? How about the consumables, right? How about the stuff that you have to reoccurringly purchase, right? This means reoccurring purchasing will be periodically happening, right? This is not something that you just buy it and then it's just done. You got it forever. It's not like I don't know, something that doesn't perish, right? It's basically, it's not food, but it's similar to food, right? When you buy it, its value goes way down. Now, it's not necessarily, now when you buy the Saphyr, its value doesn't go down. But when I compare it to the food, I just mean you have to buy it multiple times, right? You have to get the upgrades, you have to replace stuff, you have to do the new update that makes the efficiency better. Now, that's not necessarily a bad thing as far as convenience, right? Because Bionano themselves, they're increasing the efficiency every time they do a kit update or they do a new kit. Saphyr innovation, the higher throughput. Other innovation, okay, we're going to get to the speculation largely. It's kind of speculation. There's also a lot of stuff with the Saphyr 2.0 and potential nano nozzle, that whole thing. We're going to get to that, but all these things, it leads me to believe if we go way up here, we have a much higher. Okay, my gosh, it's so long. I think this is the longest one we have here out of all of the sections here. Luckily, right, for some people getting bored already. The total addressable market, according to the CEO, around three. I think he said it was around 3 billion to 3.5 billion on the earnings call. I said 3 billion here, but that's around what he said. Is much higher than that. I promise you. I mean, objectively it is, right? Because cytogenetics is not the only market that they're in. I just proved that. I mean, just watch it again. Okay, there's so many other things, and not necessarily these things are not necessarily these things. Technically, you can fit these under the first one, but how about the consumables? How about the kits? How about that one quote? Where was that quote I had here? Okay, Kevin DeJeter, right? Take his word for it, not for me, right? It's his bullish synthesis here is partly based on Saphyr's potential to impact other markets beyond cytogenetics, right? For hematological malignancies, right? So according to this Investor Place article, and remember, I'm pretty sure freelance articles, freelance writers and authors is what Investor Place is about. But anyways, total addressable market, 2.6 billion to 3.8 billion for Bionano, according to company estimates prior to March 12th. That was a while ago. Remember, I don't know how they get this number, the Bionano themselves. It was a while ago. I just think it's way higher than this. I think they're thinking more serviceable, obtainable market rather than total addressable market. I really do. But anyways, this is and remember the total addressable market. This is for a yearly. What is the maximum amount of money that you can get yearly in revenue for the total market and demand that your company falls under or all your products fall under? So although I say this is not that high, it is super high when you consider the total addressable market is 3.8 billion a year potentially, right? I mean, that is technically that's true. That may be a little misleading. Like, hey, we're going to make 3.8 billion dollars in a year. No, that's not even realistic whatsoever, based on the definition of the TAM, right? It's not the realistic. It's not the serviceable obtainable market. It's not what you're going to likely be able to get. It's what you it's what the total demand and market is in total, right? The serviceable obtainable market, that is a lower number than this. And remember, these are annually and yearly, right? So this is the market for a year, not total all time. This is annual, what they can be making max in a year if they had the supply for every single demand and a demand for anything relating to their market whatsoever, right? So anyways, based on below point, the author of this same article actually means serviceable obtainable market if the below point, according to the same article, is true, right? Same article here, because the CEO believes they could realistically achieve 2.6 to 2.9 billion dollars yearly. Okay, let's go ahead. Now this is why I was talking about the total addressable market definition so much. Now this what he's talking about here, that is the serviceable obtainable market. That is what you can realistically get. That's basically the definition of serviceable obtainable market, right? That's what you can get. The serviceable available market, that's like in the middle between okay, it's realistic, but it's not as realistic as the serviceable obtainable market. Anyways, this is not total addressable market. This is either serviceable available market or serviceable obtainable market, right? Take your pick. I would say this is more serviceable obtainable market based on what I know and how much money I think Bionano can be making a year potentially if everything goes correctly, right? The CEO believes they could realistically achieve 2.6 to 2.9 billion dollars yearly, and this is this number right here, this little figure here, that is the total addressable market, right? According to this article, that's what he says it is. And then he goes on to say the CEO believes it's this. So I don't know if he just directly disagrees with this guy. Whatever. You guys, this doesn't matter that much. Anyways, what matters is that the total addressable market and the serviceable obtainable market, they are very high for Bionano, in my opinion, and and factually, right? Factually, everyone thinks it's above 2 billion yearly for the total addressable market and, slash serviceable obtainable market, whatever your opinions are on that. Anyways, over 7,000 research labs in the world. That's how many there are, right? Holman claims that Bionano could generate 1.4 to 1.8 billion by selling Saphyr to those labs, and another 500 million to 1.1 billion in annual reoccurring revenues. The company is conducting 22 clinical tests of the platform in four main areas: prenatal, postnatal, blood cancers, and solid tumors. And we don't see that much about solid tumors, but that is definitely a potential market that I did not really include. That's why I have the little miscellaneous section there. Based on this data, payers can decide to reimburse on the company's customers for their use of Saphyrs. Also, Lineagen. I don't really Lineagen. I like to pronounce it Lineagen. I think it sounds better, so I'm just going to pronounce it. Someone wanted to rant on me for saying that. I don't care. I don't care what you think, my friends. I do, but I don't at the same time. Anyways, Lineagen. That's what I'm going to call it because it's better. It sounds better. I don't care if it's not pronounced that way. Provides services that cytogenetics labs find attractive, including genetic counseling, certified tests, certified coders, and a large patient database. Some diseases Saphyr has produced new information for are ALS, Alzheimer's, liver cancer, leukemia, and epilepsy. That is just some, and that is according to Investor Place, right? That's not even according to me, and this sounds like it's according to me, right? Too long, didn't focus. For those of you that are asleep right now, wake up, my friends. Too long, didn't focus. This is your quick breakdown of kind of what the above section is, but you're not going to get all of it just by reading this. But it'll give you a good picture, a summary, rough summary, right? Given the plethora of breakthroughs that they have already made and the learning curve and flywheel effect, I think it is likely that many, if not all, of the potential markets will be penetrated soon and down the line. And I really implore you to, before you go down and comment, say, oh, the markets, leukemia, ALS, they're going to get in all of these markets. I'm not saying they're going to get all of the revenue from that total addressable market. No, that's not at all. I'm just saying they are likely to penetrate at least some of all of the markets that we just listed, right? At least down the line. That's what I'm predicting. Down the line, 5, 10, 20, 50 years from now, I'm saying that we will be penetrating all the markets. I think so. I think we will. And please, and if you want more reasoning on that, I recommend you to just skip the timestamps to the Saphyr deep dive and Saphyr 2.0. Maybe those are probably some two good sections to give you some more justification on why I think the Saphyr is so versatile. Anyways, ape language. BNGO is good and will move because many markets. Number 3, we are on the third section, boys. Stay with me. Catalysts Most are going to be in 2021, but some are down the line. And I have a video on these already. I'm going to go quickly over them now, but that's the thorough analysis video right there, PDF. There you go. Number one, Saphyr 2.0 with 1,400 times higher throughput with maybe innovative features in Q4. Q2 2021. Accreditation for all of this stuff. Okay, we've already went all over this stuff a little bit earlier, but I have them listed here for you as a quick, really easy to see. What are the catalysts? When do I need to be in by? Here's the dates. We don't know when this stuff is going to happen exactly, but we know, we have an idea, right? And on this stuff, we have no idea, right? Insider transactions, see insider ownership for more elaboration, right? If you think insider transactions, are you just betting, you just straight gambling that the insider is going to pick up shares? No, I am not whatsoever. Down the line, these guys are nearly guaranteed to pick up shares. If you want to see why, this is where you want to go, my friends. Anyways, more Saphyr adoptions, domino effect. We've already been over that, and I'll explain. I'll read this really quick. As more and more labs and universities adopt, we've already read this. Okay, Bitcoin recognition. Okay, blah blah. You've already seen this, but yeah, there you can pause the video and read this now if you skipped to this section or you're jumping around. That's fine if you are. More institutional adoption, flywheel effect. This is essentially it's the flywheel effect as well, but it's also, when I say institutional adoption here, I mean institutions, investing institutions, and I mean that, but also at the same time, you could also take that to mean Saphyr adoptions, right? More research and development and lab institutions are going to adopt the Saphyr. That's true as well, but in this instance, I do mean institutional adoption, and if you don't know why, I'll show you right where you need to go right there. Number 20, that's where you want to go, my friends. If you want the justification for that right now, COVID recovery equals more work time. We've already been through this. Lineagen, benefit of cash. We've been through this, boys. 2021 releases and commercializations. Saphyr 2.0, new kits, new chips, software updates, enhanced technology, more innovation, right? Consumables, etc. All of these things are going to be happening in 2021. Not all of them, but at least some of them. And a lot of them will be happening down the line. And I think all of them will be happening down the line eventually, right? I mean, come on, they're not going to update their software ever. They're not going to update their chips or consumables or kits. Come on now. Number 13, ARC here. ARC's potential investment, we didn't need this to happen, but Simon has been mixed largely. He has been more bearish than bullish on optical genome mapping and Saphyr. He is somewhat debunked by a doctor here. See the PDF for that link. Kathy could decide to trump one of her two at the moment genomics experts, as Bionano's revenue and growth not only grows exponentially, but ensures stability and profitability for the company. And these, as we see in the as in the institutional in ownership here, and ARC and some other as Simon Barnett and ARC's doubts here, we have a full section for them. They are kind of waiting. And if Bionano does see exponential growth and stability and profitability for the company in the next few years and months, they will be hopping on board just for the potential innovation and crazy proportionately small serviceable addressable market at the moment, right? So that is something to keep in mind. Now, they could never invest, right? Of course, even if Bionano does amazing and we moon, that doesn't mean they're going to invest. Of course not. That means they want a better deal. They always want a good deal. But relative to what the future potential is, of course, in their mind or not, either way, Bionano in no way needs ARC's investment for it to do great things. Also, Bionano was listed in ARC's 2021 Big Ideas report in the little genomics section as to what the innovation and the genomics, the next genomic boom and everything. I forgot exactly what it's called, but yeah, we're going to go exactly over everything in there in the 10th section there. Number 14 for catalysts. Remember, we're in the potential catalyst section for 2021 and beyond for Bionano right now. Illumina or PacBio, I guess not or PacBio, a potential buyout candidate. Possible. I'm not calling this. We don't need ARC's investment or Illumina to buy us out. We don't need any of these, but it would be convenient. See the PDF if you see the PDF for the link there. Plus, Bionano's relatively extremely small, serviceable, obtainable market at the moment for Illumina compared to what Bionano's serviceable, obtainable market could be if they disrupted and partially ended Illumina's or PacBio's dominance and strength. And a further elaboration there, what's unique about us is that we can see structure, but we cannot see point mutations. And it's the inverse for sequencers, right? They can't see structure, but they can see point mutations. For example, the sequencer that Illumina sells can see point mutations, but not structure. So we are a very perfect complement to sequencers out in the field. Now, if you're Illumina, we get more into the buyout theory in where is it? Right here, number 14. So I won't spoil it there. Go see that if you want to see more elaboration on this point right here. But next, 15, new advanced prep kit. We do have a new prep kit potentially coming. Go see that link. It is pretty big news, but also not really, because we just don't know when it's going to be. But also potential innovation and improvements in Saphyr. We obviously have the learning curve, the flywheel effect, so many things. Also, we are going to be doing that in another section as well. Almost everything has its other section, guys. I'm telling you, we cover nearly everything there is to know about Bionano in this 73-page document here. Set more efficient consumables and software, potentially new products and upgrades coming out all the time. And there is an upgrade right now there's 2 upgrades right now in the works that I know that they are at least trying to do. Anyways, too long didn't focus right here. With several upcoming catalysts, mostly this year, and some down the line to look forward to, and a recent unjustified sell-off. See the technical analysis videos every day if you want to see what that is. Bionano makes for an extremely auspicious long-term buy at current prices. 6s, right? Ape language. YOLO leaps, YOLO leaps, F it, only life savings allowed. And here's the highlight right here. I think that's really funny. Anyways, number 4, Saphyr deep dive, how it works, advantages, disadvantages. Optical genome mapping using Saphyr reveals what's missing in your research. Rapidly identify genome variation like never before with the high throughput Saphyr system. That is copy and paste from their website. Let's click on the details here. This is the little brochure that we have, and it kind of explains in a better way what I could. Well, I am going to try to explain it to you further, but here you go, right? It's a genome map imaging pool. Okay, we already said that. It's ideal for replacing traditional cytogenetic methods, unbiased genome-wide structural variant detection, and de novo. Okay, no. De novo genome assembly across multiple species. And yeah, they do have the animal market is another one that we don't even talk about, right? Miscellaneous, that is another one. Animal market is something that they are actually already doing and are going to continue to. But de novo here, that just means from scratch, right? That just means, why do I keep doing that? Dang it. From scratch genome assembly across multiple species. If we scroll down a little bit, here are all of the little things, the wide range of applications here that we have already listed in our document. So this just shows you some different things that they do here. They do the insertions and deletions, and inversions, duplications, and larger than 500 base pairs. This is going to be larger than 3 to 30 kilo base pairs. The sensitivity levels and their false positives are going to be below 2%, which doesn't sound that great. Like, wow, I'm going to be wrong when it says when it indicates something else on 2% of the time. Wow, or less than 2%. That sucks, but that's actually much higher than pretty much anything else out there, especially for large SV structural variations. So yeah, this thing goes on, and this is obviously linked in the document here. And if you really need to go more through this, I'm not going to go through all of this just because I think we kind of talk about a lot of this, but this is this gives you a nice little intro into the Saphyr, and it goes pretty in depth. It tells you exactly it looks exactly the Saphyr chip things. Okay, it tells you the Saphyr chip features. Right, you get an enhanced optics with adaptive loading of DNA, utilizing machine learning. Okay, all of these different things. And there's the chip that I was talking about, like the consumables. This is what is considered a consumable, I would say. Right, the chips, the software, the kits, everything that's included in the kits. Right here. Right, the Bionano prep kit, fresh frozen blood, cell culture, bone marrow. Aspirates, BMA, tissue, plant, right? All this stuff coming soon, right? All this stuff. This is kind of what the recurring revenue thing was about. But anyways, this is kind of your intro to Saphyr here. If you don't know what it is, this is obviously, go give it a look on the document here if you need more information. But anyways, we are ready for the advanced stuff, advantages, and a bit more on how it works. So number 1 advantage: the cost of PacBio's method is estimated based on list pricing to be 10,000. I think it's 3,000 now, but so take that with a grain of salt. But between 10,000, 3,000 roughly, and 20,000 per genome, either way, above 3,000. By optical genome with Saphyr, it's less than 500 per genome. Okay, so is way better in that regard. In large structural variation detections, it was shown to be significantly more sensitive than the sequencing method and much faster. It should be noted that although the Saphyr can seemingly detect all that next generation and long-read sequencing can, but at a lower cost, it is not actually the full case. Basically, Saphyr can detect certain parts at a higher efficiency, aka large structural variations, especially. That's what their specialty is, right? Effectively. Efficiency, but not everything. Most next-generation sequencing, short-read sequencing, and long-read sequencing provide high-resolution, base-level nucleotide information. Saphyr's map, it provides, on the other hand, a structural map, and does not directly identify the chemistry comprising the structure. So very roughly, like if you assay a house, The optical map would be great for showing you the shapes of the foundation, the wall, and the roof frame, right? This is a metaphor here, a figurative language here. Not necessarily a metaphor, I guess, but it's figurative language, but it wouldn't tell you the materials, right? For similar esoteric information, intro to OGM and Saphyr and how it works, and more of a deep dive rather than intro, that will help you in illuminating the process of basic optical genome mapping in action versus long-read sequencing, short-read sequencing, next-generation sequencing. These two sources may be good starting places. Again, please, I recommend you just do the details there. You go do that, and you go do these two sources as well. Go look at those. I am kind of hesitant to get into more of the nitty-gritty stuff without the words that I've already prepared here, just because I am not an expert. And this stuff, yes, I am at this point. I've done hours of, countless hours of research on this stuff, trying to get a rudimentary understanding. But this stuff is esoteric. This stuff is very hard, and it takes a long time to really start to be able to explain it, I would say, and articulate it enough to not just be me stuttering all the time and just trying to go, just what I do all the time on streams, So I recommend you do those three sources, those two, and then the details if you want more information in the intro basics and getting a little more advanced as far as nucleotide base level. Does it do everything, or does it do large structural variations only? It does large structural variations mostly, not only, but it does that most. That's its strongest thing, right? Anyways, higher detection rate of large structural variations than next generation sequencing, long read sequencing, and short read sequencing. Cheaper, easier to use, and not as esoteric. Less false positives. These are all benefits of the Saphyr. Remember, advantages and a bit on how it works, right, of the Saphyr method compared to these and short read sequencing. Rapidly accumulating evidence indicates that structural variations can comprise millions of nucleotides of heterogeneity within every genome and are likely to make an important contribution to human diversity and disease susceptibility. There is your source right there. The system comes with a screen, keyboard, a processor, and a server, and costs $150,000. Besides the system's sale and installation revenue, BNGO receives recurring income from consumables like pigments and reagents. Similar to a printer and ink cartridge, this business model creates a regular income for Bionano, and that is a great little quote there that I got from these sources here. That is one of the key things about their revenue. Their customers are not just a one-time customer; they're a lifetime customer as long as they're using it, right? Because they got to get those pigments and those reagents and update the software and get the higher throughput Saphyr. And we got a new shiny Saphyr today. We got innovation, right? Which I'm expecting down the road, and I'm somewhat expecting in the fourth quarter with that with the 2.0 Saphyr, which we're going to go over nano nozzle innovations. We're going to go over all the speculation with that. Disadvantages. BNGO plans to seek an FDA clearance for Saphyr medical use. The delay is due to the high cost of obtaining the license, stemming from lengthy clinical trials and robust requirements. It is worth reminding that the commercial launch of Saphyr is only recent, and the company has been operating as a publicly traded company for a small number of years, which I do know. Unlike this person, it went public in 2018, my friends. The addressable market of BNGO will increase significantly in the event of an FDA approval. Source, whether this is true or not, in the FDA approval section. Now I'm just going to let the bag out for you, because I know some people are going to read that and be like, "Oh no, FDA approval, we don't have it." I'm going to tell you right now, we go over and why this is actually not that big of a deal in the FDA approval section, why it's not as big of a deal as this person would. He said, look, he said the addressable market of Bionano will increase significantly if we got FDA approval. That's just not true. You see, I think, the only way that happens, it won't happen, because it's just, I'll go into why. But anyways, I just don't think this is as big of a deal. But of course, FDA approval, Food and Drug Administration approval, that would be great. But we're not dealing with food or drugs. We're dealing with a box and software. Anyways, that's a little bit of the reason, but it's much more detailed than a box, Anyways, so yeah, please see the FDA approval section right now. Just click to use the timestamps. If you're on mobile, click desktop, same thing, right? Click to the FDA approval section and then come back to this section. It's very easy, my friends. Cannot detect all of what next generation sequencing and long read sequencing does. Somewhat high cost, although relatively it is very cheap when factoring in the alternatives, because there really are no true alternatives that replace what the Saphyr does. And we're going to go over in the competitions what NABC kind of does, another optical whole genome mapping company does. For more basic information on how the Saphyr works, you could watch these. And there's three little sources right there for you, my friends. Too long, didn't focus. Saphyr has very auspicious advantages when innovation left to come as built-in obsolescence, proponents' ideas, idea in regards to the Saphyr is completely nullified, right? So I know that's a little hard to say there, a little hard to understand. Let me repeat that for you. Saphyr has very auspicious advantages with innovation left to come, as built-in obsolescence proponents' idea, right? People who are proponents of this whole built-in obsolescence in the Saphyr, their idea in regards to the Saphyr is completely nullified or made invalid with their ongoing updates and enhancements. I don't know anyone who doubts the Saphyr in this way, but I'm sure there are some, right? There's always some idiot, right? Not to be too harsh, okay? There's always some fool. I shouldn't say idiot. Excuse me. Sorry. I'm sorry if I offended you. I'm sorry. Recurring revenue with their market strategy is a nice benefit as well, and the disadvantages of Saphyr are nothing compared to its current benefits and future innovations. That's pretty long for the too long didn't focus or / too long didn't read. Basically, that's what it is essentially, because I am reading and you're just listening, or you're reading as well with me. Anyways, ape language, right? That good sweet ape language. Here we go. Saphyr good, BNGO good, mapping good, sequencing bad. Buy bingo shares. FDA approval. Here we go. Saphyr does not necessarily need FDA approval because of this source, but mostly because Saphyr is already in full use in hospital, labs, clinics, university, and more. And when I say full, I have it italicized here for a couple of reasons. Number one, it's really important, but number two, full meaning Saphyr's full usage is being used. It's not prohibited. It's not like, oh, you can't use this function of the Saphyr because it doesn't have FDA approval. It's not safe. It's not cleared. No, they are in full use. Now, they are not in use in every hospital, right? There's still hospitals that are empty and they don't have Saphyr, right? But empty from a Saphyr, right? But they are in the Saphyrs that are being used to full function, and they don't need the FDA approval because they're already being used, man. I mean, how many? I mean, do you think? I mean, I don't know. Like, there's already Harvard has already used the Saphyr. UK, African labs, every other institution and building and place and whatever you want to call it that has adopted Saphyr is already using Saphyr. The FDA approval is not already needed, man. PacBio does not have it for one of their main products, and it is one of ARC's largest holdings. Although FDA approval for the Saphyr may generate more interest and hype for the stock, right? I'm not saying it would be bad, right? I'm not saying it would be bad, man. I mean, I would welcome it, I guess. Overall, I mean, if we got it, but it depends on the cost for it. For the stock, it likely would not start huge moves to the stock price, right? Or as Saphyr gets FDA approval, if ARC pulls the trigger, that could happen. Although personally, I think ARC is sophisticated enough to realize these points right here. And if I'm wrong, please tell me and I will edit this. But it's not factual to say that the Saphyr needs FDA approval. It's not right. So I don't think ARC would do this. They're going to realize that what determines Bionano's success will not be the FDA approval for a box. Saphyr shape resembles a box, my friends. Too long didn't focus. And check the sources, please. If you do not believe me, check the sources, my friends. FDA approval will not make or break the stock. Too long didn't focus. If anything, it would boost interest and little else, right? I'm not saying I would be against FDA approval. Okay, I'm not against it necessarily. I'm just saying it's not a big deal. It's not as big of a deal as people are making it. People say, oh, we need FDA approval. We need this. We need that. Or not that we don't need FDA approval to the degree that a lot of people are saying, I believe, and I can be wrong, but this evidence right here, I just don't think. I mean, it's already in full use. I mean, what do we need the FDA approval for? Are there like 5 labs that are like old fashioned and they won't adopt it if it doesn't have FDA approval? I mean, really? I mean, yeah, that might be good. Is it worth going through the huge horrible process of getting FDA approval? Is it worth it there? You tell me. Is it something that's going to make ARC pull the trigger? I just don't think that's realistic. I just think that's a little fanciful. I just think that's a naive and rudimentary idea. But I could be wrong. I could be missing something. So that's my case there, and I can be wrong, of course. That's just my opinion. Bionano can easily do all the things bulls wanted to without FDA approval, at least the reasonable bulls, such as myself, right? Not people that are saying, I don't know, 100 end of year easily, guaranteed, it's certainly possible. I think it's 100% possible that we see 200 end of year. Bull case, I think we will. Bull case, if everything goes right, I think we could easily get in the hundreds of dollars a share. But it's just a lot of things have to go right, and we can do it without FDA approval. Although they would welcome it, if it did happen, the bulls would welcome it if it did happen, as some institutions may warm up to Saphyr a bit more in that circumstance. Ape language, BNGO, go moon, cancer. I have been saying, this is a quick little brag right here. I've been saying since before January and February that cancer could be one of the things that makes this stock turn us into millionaires, the shareholders at least. And although the stock price has gotten beat down, my synthesis for an entire market and cancer solution enhancements or mitigations has only been more legitimized. This is one of my favorite ones personally. Several articles in Bionano themselves not alluding to at all whatsoever. Basically them saying this is a market. That's really what it was. But I'm saying alluding to be conservative, right? To Saphyr being able to possibly help develop cancer mitigations, cures, chemotherapeutic drug enhancements, one of those, right? Not necessarily cures, that would be insane, but certainly a chance to cure or at least help by doing things like this or mitigations, right? A more thorough understanding of how cancer cells replicate and spread so fast provides the opportunity to find out what stops them, right? When you look at cancer cells replication and why they're so dangerous, because cancer, it's like that, bro. They're literally replicating every single second. So this understanding how they do that and how the spread is so, what's the proclivity that starts that up? What is the reason? What's the why behind that? That may give us a knowledge and an understanding of how we can potentially stop this. And through some trial and error, we may be able to cure cancer down the line with optical genome mapping. Who knows, man? And I'm not calling it. I'm not invested in the company because of that, but I'm invested in the company because optical genome mapping's potential. And if I had to say in one sentence, I would say that is why. But there's more reasons than that. Let's be honest. All of these are good. Even the risks are bullish. Okay, I give you the risks that are bad, but I mean everything nearly is bullish when you do a deep dive on this company, in my opinion. Anyways, that's more for the my plan section. I think the learning curve will play a huge role in the Saphyr's findings in cancer-related research, especially if they have not been working on cancer research very long, which they really haven't been. They have not been working on cancer and not devoting a lot of time to it recently, right? The last couple of years, they have not been doing it a lot. They have so many different markets, right? They can't just focus on cancer, of course. So here we go. There's 1,000 things here. Here we go. On April 22nd, Bionano announced that a group of scientists using Saphyr and other tools had developed a technique that is capable of determining the timing, speed, or an origin of DNA replication in human cells at a coverage level that is thousands of times higher than what earlier methods described, such as nanopore sequencing allowed. Errors in DNA replication may result in cancer. Many chemotherapeutic drugs target and disrupt DNA replication, Bionano stated. So as a result, better comprehending DNA replication can aid scientists in developing cancer treatments with reduced side effects, the company believes. So there's your source. There you go, man. I mean, it's self-explanatory. This is a huge potential market for Bionano. Cancer samples are just too complex for low-coverage whole sequencing. The complex rearrangements, tumor heterogeneity, and unsequenceable repetitive regions of the genome present additional challenges for short and long-read sequencing technologies. Professor Vanessa Hayes at the Garvin, this is a new point. Okay, sorry, I should have maybe expanded on this, but there's not really much I can expand on this. I don't like giving super strong opinions on stuff that is about complex rearrangements and tumor heterogeneity because I'm not a scientist and I don't have a degree in any sort of genetic related space, right? I'm not a biologist, my friends. I'm not even close. I just am a guy that likes this company and with a passion for this kind of technology and innovation, right? But this is big. All this stuff is big, and this is all potential markets for Bionano. Anyways, Professor Vanessa Hayes at the Garvin Institute of Medical Research, blah, 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 published a complete tumor normal comparison from a primary prostate cancer 5. Her team identified, this is a quote, okay, I don't know what's up with this punctuation here, this is a quote, but her team identified 85 large somatic deletions and insertions, of which half directly impact potentially oncogenic genes or regions. Only 1/10 of these large structural variations were detected using high coverage short read next generation sequencing and bioinformatics analyses using a combination of the best structural variation calling algorithms for next generation sequencing data. A manual inspection of next generation sequencing reads corresponding with the Bionano derived target regions verified 94% of the total structural variations called with Bionano mapping. Many structural variations detected with Bionano Bionano were flanked by repetitive sequencers, making them all but invisible to short-read sequencing. So basically, now I'm not a scientist. I'm not going to tell you exactly. I'm not going to tell you I understand some of these terms here. Now, let's see. What do I not understand? Somatic deletions and insertions, right? 85 large somatic deletions and insertions, half directly impact potentially on oncogenic genes or regions, right? I don't. Some of this stuff I don't have a full thorough understanding of. I mean, I've heard all these terms, I've seen the stuff, I've seen the literature, I've seen the definitions. I just don't know. I couldn't explain some of this stuff to you if you asked me. But what I do know is that this is what I know. It doesn't take a genius. It does not take a genius, my friends, to realize this last sentence here. Many structural variations or variants, whatever you want to call it, detected with Bionano were flanked by repetitive sequences. Okay, that doesn't. If you don't understand that, that's fine. Making them all but invisible through short-read sequencing. Now, what you need to know here is that Bionano's detection with Saphyr and structural variations, right? That map that they're able to recreate with optical genome mapping in the Saphyr, it makes next generation sequencing and short-read sequencing obsolete in that way, right? Not obsolete in everything, just in the large structural variation research, it is obsolete. And if anyone in the genome space wants to detect with a higher efficiency large structural variations in genomes, Bionano Saphyr is the way to go. And this is just more evidence for that. And this is cancer related. Remember, these are cancer related stuff. Now, this one doesn't really mention cancer in here, but well, they do technically here, but it's not really cancer. You wouldn't think this was cancer related just because they only mentioned it once, right? But this is about cancer research using optical genome mapping and Saphyr. So keep that in mind here. This is one of the greatest revenue makers ever, right? Can you imagine what would happen if we made a breakthrough that helped mitigate chemotherapeutic drugs effect, right? The negative side effects of that, or helped it fight cancer or whatever? Huge revenue, my friends. The potential is huge. Bionano Genomics BNGO new study is likely to lead to a new level of cancer research and drug discovery with reduced side effects, demonstrating the importance of optical genome mapping in a large research market. Notably, the study is led by Dr. Nicholas Rind from the University of Massachusetts Medical School, along with a global team of scientists from France, Canada, and the U.S. DNA replication is a fundamental process of cell growth seen in cancer and was not easy to study in human genomes. Through Bionano Genomics Saphyr-based method, the timing, speed, and origin of DNA replication will be known in human cells at a coverage level, which is thousands of times higher than earlier methods such as nanopore sequencing. Another way, what they were able to do, right? And this is a quote. I apologize for the bad grammar here, right? Literally these quotes, man. I'm just copying and pasting the quotes over, and I don't know how these guys they have their science, they have their biology degrees, but not their English ones, I guess. Grows when cells divide, and for each division, their entire genome needs to be replicated. The company said erroneous DNA replication might result in genome instability and mutations driving cancer. Therefore, as cancer cells divide excessively, many chemotherapeutic drugs target and disrupt DNA replication. So if we can get a better understanding of DNA replication, chemotherapeutic drugs, that's what they target, so that's what we need to know about. Using Bionano Saphyr, there's a chance that we may be able to get a better understanding about how that stuff works. And it's not something where you just use a Saphyr and you just get some samples and you just look at the data and you're like, oh, okay, we understand it or we don't understand it. No, this is something that the learning curve will play an effect to based on my rudimentary knowledge, right? I'm not very nuanced with it. I don't know all the details. I'm not a biologist, right? But this is nonetheless, it doesn't take a genius to figure out, if you don't know anything about this, cancer is a potential market for Bionano, and it is a market for Bionano, I should say. Too long didn't focus. If BNGO discovers new groundbreaking advancements in cancer research, then stock price go boom, portfolio go burr, and bears go hibernate. This seems at least somewhat likely in my mind, given all of what they have done so far, and considering the learning curve and flywheel effect. Curing cancer is not what we are talking about here. However, it kind of is at a point, but however, that may not be out of the range of possibilities down the line. We are emphasizing Saphyr's proclivity for discovering vital information that could lead to more breakthroughs in mitigating cancer growth and risk, preventative care, susceptibility, enhancements in chemotherapeutic drugs, are all things that Saphyr could certainly help with inventing. If any of this does happen, BNGO go moon for sure. ape language. BNGO find cancer information. BNGO find all-time highs. Invest in BNGO. Number 7, CEO and management optimism, goal, plan, and experience, plus credentials. Bionano CEO has expressed countless times what he thinks will happen in the future. His goal is global Saphyr adoption, as he believes will be the next driver in innovation in biology. Other top executives like the chief medical officer, chief financial officer, and chief operating officer have expressed their confidence as well, not as often or as directly, but nonetheless they all seem very confident. Some of these guys are a little bit new here, but they are all confident. They have been. I've heard them several times each, especially on the earnings call. So it is hard to find any sort of quote from them in which they were not implying a bright future for their company. Of course, they're biased, sure, but guys, I want you to think of this. Okay, how many companies do you know where executives they don't really say anything? They're not really enthusiastic. They're not really into it, man. They're really not. And so executives often do not share the same confidence Bionano's does. So I think this is a good thing, right? Optimism and sentiment, that is a good thing to look here. Now, is that why I'm investing? No, absolutely not. Of course, they are biased. Yes, they are biased, but plenty of companies executives do not share the same confidence Bionano's does. Several quotes from management displaying their confidence and enthusiasm for the future of Bionano and optical genome mapping with Saphyr. Here's your sources. Asked about total addressable market, okay, in their earnings call. So in cytogenetics, broadly speaking, there's roughly 2,500 labs worldwide, probably somewhere between 2 million samples per year being processed for this type of molecular pathology. Pathology is just a word for meaning relating to a disease, and overall, that represents somewhere in the neighborhood of a $3 billion to $3.5 billion market for us. That includes some of the research market as well, but it's something that I would really emphasize. And remember, total addressable market is yearly. That is annually, right? That is what you can realistically, what your entire market and demand could earn if you had all of it, which is not realistic. That would be the serviceable, obtainable market, but the total addressable market, this is the annually highest amount of money, or not highest, I guess kind of highest, but the money that you can make, your entire demand of market, right? That's the money that is of your demand in your market and product. So, but it's something that I really like to emphasize for these investors who are asking questions, is that the market that is right in front of us today, and with the technology accelerating capabilities as quickly as it is being used in research to discover new applications, the market opportunity for optical genome mapping goes well beyond the low single-digit billion number. Right there, you go. You have it from the CEO himself. He says the total market opportunity for optical genome mapping goes well beyond that low single-digit billion number, and it's substantially larger. It's hard for us to quantify it specifically because some of the applications have not even been developed. Did you guys hear that? It's harder for us to quantify it specifically because some of the applications in Saphyr haven't, or in their unknown products, right, haven't even been developed. Others are still on the come. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Is that evidence for nano nozzle right there? I probably got a couple Bionano nerds going, nano nozzle, let's go. Yeah, there you go, man. That is evidence, not necessarily evidence, but that's reason to believe that a ton of innovation and disruptiveness is to come with the Saphyr and Bionano's consumables, kits, chips, everything. In regards to what investors should know about BNGO stock, that was the question, right? This is only the beginning. Eric, CEO, right there, paraphrasing. We believe that optical genome mapping will drive the next big wave of innovation in biology, as long-read sequencing, short-read sequencing, and next-generation sequencing innovation has leveled off. Now, to complement the expansion of our commercial efforts, the utility of optical genome mapping with Saphyr was validated through benchmarking, scientific publication of data, and, of course, clinical adoption. Throughout the year, numerous, rigorous, and extensive comparisons of Saphyr were conducted against traditional cytogenetic methods, long-read sequencing, and the result of these comparisons were published in several key publications presented in different presentations at industry meetings that were taking place, and through a variety of announcements. All of these studies show that Saphyr is a superior alternative to traditional cytogenetics methods. Specifically, as you can see on this slide, we had a growing excitement as more researchers got access to the breadth of data on structural variation and genome structural analysis in general that Saphyr can provide. That is Eric. So thanks to your support, our shareholders, we've taken major steps to secure our financial future of the company by raising a substantial amount of capital, which sets the stage for execution of our plan plan without the overhang of capital limitations. 2021 is going to be critical to the long-term growth. We are squarely focused on driving the global development of Saphyr-based assays for use in clinical testing of patients with genetic diseases and hematological malignancies, and on the adoption of Saphyr for use in larger clinical studies that will allow us to obtain a critical mass of data on Saphyr application across a number of key areas, including prenatal and postnatal genetics, hematological malignancies, including leukemias and lymphomas, and in solid tumors. These are markets that I didn't even list these ones right here, or I didn't even necessarily list hematological malignancies, right? And the markets there, but I under miscellaneous, all this stuff that falls under. These data are expected to expand the number of publications, including the peer review ones, and support an increase in the number of laboratory developed tests on the market, with the goal of reimbursement of Saphyr-based laboratory developed tests by third-party pairs in the U.S. That is Eric, and that was a mouthful, my friends. I'm sorry for that boringness, but anyways, it's very important because several quotes from management displaying their confidence and enthusiasm for the future of Bionano and optical genome with Saphyr. They are confident. They have a global Saphyr adoption on their mind. That is their goal. They are very confident. They think Bionano. Eric thinks the single low, a few $billion market cap yearly, right? Total addressable market, not market cap. The total addressable market is not. He says it's substantially larger, right? It's hard for them to quantify. Applications have not been developed, so that is extremely bullish. And all this stuff is really bullish as well, man. All this stuff is bullish. I mean, they talk about the markets here. I mean, it's just. It is very the market, the sentiment, or not the market, the leadership sentiment and the management sentiment and Eric's sentiment. It's so bullish to me. And we want to congratulate Praxis Genomics and its founder, Dr. Peter L. Nagy, on their CAP accreditation, which is a very esoteric, very complicated way that I cannot explain very well. I'm not a geneticist or a biologist, but it's basically full DNA analysis and some genomic esoteric stuff that I do not fully understand. Go give that a Google if you want to learn more. Accreditation, making their Saphyr-based test the first whole genome analysis laboratory developed test, in the U.S. in a CAP/CLIA setting, which is a clinically laboratory improved amendment setting. We believe this accreditation is a key step on a path to reimbursement of Saphyr-based limited laboratory developed tests by third-party payers. While Praxis is first, we expect several other U.S. laboratories to offer whole genome laboratory developed tests for various clinical applications in the future, establishing their Saphyr as a key tool for next-generation cytogenetics. That sounds pretty sweet, doesn't it? By adding whole genome sequencing, Praxis intends to demonstrate that Saphyr and next-generation sequencing complement each other to provide answers to patients and families affected with genetic disorders, right? Another marker, families affected with genetic disorders. There you go, man. I mean, yeah, we talked about that a little bit, but there you go. As more Saphyr-based tests enter the limited laboratory developed test stage worldwide, we believe it is possible to create a paradigm shift for cytogenetic applications in cancer and genetic disease that have the potential to improve patient outcomes. Yes, this sounds boring, and I know I'm just reading quotes. Oh, you don't even know what this stuff means. Yeah, you're right. I mean, this stuff is complicated. This is complicated stuff, man. Yeah, I'm not a biologist. Some of this goes over my head. I'm gonna be honest with you, but it doesn't take a genius to figure out that there is something going on here, boys. Saphyr's use and its practicality and its value in clinics and institutions and just researchers using it. There's real value here, and these quotes kind of tell you that a lot of these universities and studies here, they just prove that the value is and the potential is way higher than people give it credit for. I think, at least. Paraphrasing the chief financial advisor, the money we have raised this year puts us in a position which secures our financial future for the next few years. Our strong balance sheet. This is a quote. It allows us to shift our focus to achieving our long-term vision of disrupting genomics and thereby contributing to advances in healthcare through the global adoption of Saphyr. That's a chief financial advisor. Asked about the prototype and what challenges they face with the Saphyr 2.0 / higher throughput Saphyr. What we're focused on is building a platform that can serve the substantially higher throughput operating labs compared to your traditional community cytogenetics labs. The community cytogenetics labs represent the vast majority, but these higher volume labs take a significant amount of the volume, right? And so we are anticipating by the time the system is launched and up to full speed, it will represent an increase of approximately 14-fold over the current throughput of the Saphyr system, which is roughly 5,000 human genomes per year. And so that's a pretty substantial overall increase in the throughput. When you talk about the milestones and work that needs to be done, it's relatively straightforward in that we've built these instruments before, and the principles of operation are not changing. Right? This is when they're building the Saphyr 2.0. Right? How easy is it going to be? Can you talk about the practicality, what the challenges they face? Right? When you talk about the milestones and what work needs to be done, is relatively straightforward. Right? They've done this before, but we are adapting a completely novel optical imaging platform, which is of course off the shelf, available today, and we need to implement it in the configuration that's useful for optical genome mapping. But there's really no substantial invention involved, and so we believe that the program overall is relatively low risk. Now, this is kind of where it contrasts. The stark difference comes with this one right here, and the Saphyr 2.0 and nano nozzle. That Eric doesn't really think there is going to be innovation. At least he said there's not going to be crazy innovation in Saphyr 2.0, right? No substantial invention involved. I don't know. We'll see. You guys will hear my thoughts on if Eric is telling the truth there in a little bit here. But when asked if Saphyr is really needed, when what it detects is so hyper specific, right? This is in the earnings. All of this is in the earnings report. At least these three questions here, I believe. I know these two were. I remember that exactly. And all the sources for this is going to be down below. Also, if you copy and paste any of this stuff into Google, you will find where I got this, my friends. When asked about the Saphyr, right? It's important that we're selling the product and that people are paying for it. That sort of validates that it's a viable commercial product. But our focus is really clearing the path to see this much wider adoption to fill these critical gaps. And on a regular basis, publications are appearing showing that sequencing, as powerful as it is for detecting small variants, really underperforms when it comes to detection of large structural variations. And if you just read through, and I know you're a kind of guy who would read through the medical guidelines, not everybody would, but if you look at the medical guidelines for testing in genomic diseases, hematological malignancies, solid tumors, they all recommend as the first line of analysis some form of structural variation detection, whether that's karyotyping, microarray, fluorescence, and cytohybridization, and as much as there is an interest in having sequencing address those markers, the publications show that sequencing cannot. And furthermore, I have this bolded here, and furthermore, to really get next generation sequencing in particular to work well in the clinic, it still requires extraordinary depth of coverage, which means that to make it work reliably, consistently at a high throughput and at low cost, if it's not possible to do a whole genome analysis. That's with next generation sequencing. I'm not even talking about long read sequencing. And so it really leaves an opportunity for optical genome mapping to come in and be the go-to solution to look at structural variation. So basically, there you go. That's why structural variation matters. There you go. You have it from Eric himself, my friends. And I'm not going to try to sum that up because there's a lot of stuff there, and you could read it yourself on the PDF. So that's great news, though. Chief Financial Advisor Chris Stewart said that Bionano believes its cash stockpile, quote, significantly de-risks the company, solidifies our financial future, and allows us to focus on the achievement of our long-term vision to disrupt genomics through the global adoption of Saphyr. Too long didn't focus. This one is probably going to be for everyone because that was a lot. The chief financial advisor essentially said there is a much higher total addressable market than a low single-digit billion-dollar number. The chief financial advisor believes Bionano's financial future is very secure. The CEO thinks Bionano would drive the next wave of innovation in biology. CEO somewhat alludes to hidden innovation potentially in higher throughput Saphyr. When I say somewhat, that is a very strong somewhat, and alludes to as in hints to, right? Very, very subtly, right? If that even, right? Very, very potential possibility there, right? Possibility, not for sure. The CEO thinks there's a huge demand for large structural variation detection that is 500 base pairs or higher. He talks about how drug development is huge and learning more about what this detection could be. With this detection could be groundbreaking. Their goal is long-term vision to disrupt genomics through the global adoption of Saphyr. Ape language. Leader of company thinks we will burr, so we will burr. Invest now. Insider ownership and transactions. All of these executives all picked up stock options leaps essentially filed on this date. Here's your proof. The options vest monthly, meaning they will be able to pick up more shares with the more time that has gone by. They all expire in 2031. The conversion or exercise price of derivative security, basically strike price, right, is $7.83. These four forms total amount of shares available is to be exercised is 16 million shares. And then also if you add this in, it would be 16,025,210 shares. if the math is right here, which obviously I have it right here, fact checked for you. So millions of shares, they are, that is potentially what is on the line here. Totaling this amount of shares, 25,000 shares. CMO picked up more exercisable shares, all at different conversion prices and expiration. They are all leaps, so they all are 20. I believe it's 2028, 2029, and 2030. There are three of them. One of them is 10,000. One of them is like 500, and one of them is like the other amount. I forgot exactly what it is. 10,210. The other one's 5,000, I think. Yeah, I think so. But anyways, that doesn't really matter. You can go look. You can go look right there. So, anyways, remember all of the above options vest monthly. Some vest at slightly different intervals, but they all vest more over time. Meaning the amount of shares able to be exercised will increase over time. So basically, there's going to be a more of a higher likelihood for them to pick up shares as time goes on. So Too Long Didn't Focus explains this more. Insider transactions are extremely bullish long term, and even more so when you consider that since they technically do not own any shares from these above transactions, the insider ownership percentage showed in the investing resources, Fental.io, Fenviz, possibly misleading because those numbers do not take into account the options. And by the way, those you can go look at these. Okay, it's not really interesting for me to list the insider ownership on here because it's like 3%. Okay, there's 3 to 1% depending. Fenviz has it as way lower than Fental.io. But this is what's important right here: the insider transactions. Ape language. Company leaders will probably pick up shares, resulting in attendees from BNGO stock. Competition. Optical genome mapping is much different from next generation sequencing, long read sequencing, and short read sequencing, and has its own very small piece of the market demand, in my opinion. However, Bionano may not even have to disrupt this industry at all or make these niches obsolete to reach a double-digit billion-dollar market capitalization, as Saphyr, optical genome mapping, and SMRT, long read sequencing from PacBio, actually worked together recently and alluded to potential innovative discoveries. Okay, they can be, as we talked about with the Illumina thing, this is a completely different one. They work together, right? The other one was with Illumina. All that when we looked at the, we'll look at it again when we get to the future potential in Illumina potential buyout there. But they have worked together before, so that's something to keep in mind. List of all realistic direct and indirect competition. There's your list right there. We're not going to go over all these. You can just look at all these. Pacific Bio, yada yada yada. There you go. Some key ones are going to be these guys, and Illumina. Those are the three big ones I would say, for me at least. PacBio is considered conventionally their most direct competition, although in my mind, NABC seems like their most direct competition. However, the niche is going to be slightly different. They're a pioneer in electric whole genome mapping and provides high-resolution, long-range genomic information using solid-state semiconductor-based nanodetectors. Not the exact same as Bionano, right? But they are a private company, guys. So they're just, it's not a crazy thing to worry about, in my opinion. They are going to be a private company. Saphyr already has proved that it detects large structural variations at a fraction of the cost. They end the competition and solidified at least one hyper-specific niche that virtually cannot be nullified or disrupted given their patents, economies of scale, and differential advantages. That, in my opinion, Bionano has largely established, especially considering how specific of a niche they are in and how esoteric it is. Economies of scale, that one especially, and obviously they've got like 252 patents. So yeah, here we go. Too Long didn't focus here. Although Bionano has plenty of competitors, its product is protected. Bionano has more than 252 issued and pending patents protecting the Saphyr system. There's your source. The optical genome mapping space certainly can be penetrated and taken over by other competitive companies, but it is unlikely, extremely unlikely in my opinion, for reasons above. Ape language, BNGO moon soon, and competitors doomed. Number 10, Simon Barnett and Arx doubts. Plenty of doctors and people fully immersed into the optical genome mapping, next generation sequencing, and long read sequencing plus short read sequencing space believe in Saphyr's niche and optical genome mapping's potential eventual disruption, penetration of genomics total addressable market. Here are a few, mostly not all of them. Some of them are just typical journalists, but they are mostly highly educated people blatantly disagreeing and somewhat nullifying some of Simon's claims, at least in my opinion. So this first one's a little broad here. I'm sorry, but this is, I could list like 7,000. This document would be like 80 pages and I would die. I'm already basically dying doing this all in one sitting, right? Every single study and publication and adoption from any type of institution are essentially people seeing value in Saphyr enough to pay the handsome price it requires. These are Harvard professors, top tier researchers, genomic experts, people with PhDs who understand more about Saphyr's practicality and value than most of us. And I guarantee you, probably even a little bit more than Simon himself, potentially, right? These people work with it every day. Simon, yeah, he's the genomics expert guy, right? But if he's not investing in Bionano, we'll see how that works out for him. It could work out great for him. He could be shorting, or it could be shorting. Bionano could get delisted. I just don't think it's likely. This link is to the myriad of publications proving Saphyr's worth. And there you go. There's two links there. Kevin DeJeter. Okay, so according to this, okay, he's a very credentialed guy. He's got a good success rate, right? He covers the healthcare sector, right? He does Rucker Pharmaceuticals, Sensei Biotherapeutics, and something biosciences, right? I don't know how selector. I don't know. Anyways, he has issued a buy rating for the stock and is currently, since last update, owning Bionano shares. So this guy is obviously, he's got a fair amount of coverage and exposure to the bioscience and biology sector here. He is bullish on it and literally just directly, blatantly disagreeing with Simon indirectly, and also ARC themselves admitting that optical genome mapping and Bionano have a niche in the genomic revolution, my friends. Let's go to page 93 here. Let me go ahead and let's go ahead and look up let's go ahead and control F BNGO here. So there you go. The genomic toolkit is expanding to provide a fuller, richer, and more accurate view into biology, and Bionano Genomics is included in this. Also, NABS is that other competitor I was listing in there. First generation sequencing, there's nothing. You got your short read sequencing, you got your single cell biology, you got your spatial biology, long read sequencing, and you got this. Bionano Genomics is basically it's there. Optical mapping, right? We've got it. We made the list. It is in there. This is their big ideas report of 2021, my friends. So look, ARC Invest Big Ideas 2021 PDF. There you go. Boom. It will be linked for you. So ARC does admit there is a use. They just are not investing. Who knows why? But they do recognize that it has a use in the genomic toolkit of a richer, fuller genome analysis map, right? Larry Raymer has conducted research and written articles on U.S. stocks for 13 years. It's not as highly credentialed as the other ones, but I could do like 7,000 guys. I could do like 7,000 points here. There's so many papers of PhDs, people with PhDs doing the, Saphyr has worth is essentially what they're saying in ape language, right? Saphyr good. That's what they're saying. And there's hundreds of them. So so there could be 20. I'm only doing like 6, but yeah. So here you go. Doctor debunking many of Simon's claims. This guy right here, he's a researcher in the biotech company. So yeah, also this little point right here, read that if you want the PDF. Too long didn't focus. Regardless of ARC's standpoint, Bionano's tech is already accepted and praised by a plethora of prominent individuals in the genetic and healthcare space. It is likely, in my opinion, that ARC will invest down the line or short-term, mid-term, we'll see. It is more of a question of if they will get in while it is cheap, consistent, and hyper-aggressive revenue growth, along with a consistent increase in Saphyr users and continued innovation will nearly force them to invest in Bionano. It is not a question of when. It is a question of. It's not a question of if. It's a question of when. Okay, excuse me there. It would have been funny if I said it the other way around first. I almost did, right? But yeah, this is we don't necessarily need ARC to invest. Don't mistake me. I think we're going to moon either way, whether ARC invests. I'm letting cat out of the bag again. I'm giving you the spoiler. My plan here at the end that we're going to go over, I'm bullish, and I don't care if ARC does not invest. I'm still holding. I don't need ARC to invest. I'm investing in the company because of the technology and the markets and the demand and the revenue, not anything else, right? That's mostly why I'm not only, but that's mostly why I'm invested. Ape language, ARC invests with Moon. ARC doesn't invest with Moon long term. That's my opinion there. There are reasons why the Saphyr 2.0 with a 1,400 times higher or 1,400%, whatever you want to say, they're the same thing. Okay, blah, blah. Throughput will include innovation and improvement. Besides this, the CEO did say it's clear the innovation and that the innovation of the technology is leveling off. And so when we look to the future, what we see is that the era of big biology and genomics is going to be driven by new technology. And certainly we see optical genome mapping and the Saphyr system at the center of the next big wave, which is going to be focused on genome structure analysis. And so we think that we're really at the beginning of this incredible journey. If Eric did not know something about the Saphyr optical genome mapping that we did not, how come he has such a strong proclivity to always give such bullish opinions on the future of optical genome mapping? Because he is the CEO? Fine point if you're going to say that. But at the same time, look at how many CEOs don't act like Eric. Is he just that much of an optimist? Really? Do you think he's going to risk putting his reputation on the line and being wrong in front of all these people? Do you think? I mean, maybe. I just don't think it's likely. I think it's more likely the other way around. And when you consider the technology and the studies and the markets, I think it makes perfect sense for him to know something that we don't as far as nano nozzle and Saphyr innovations and kit software consumables, all those kind of enhancements, all this stuff, man. Considering this, the learning curve, and the flywheel effect, I think there's a case to be made that the Saphyr 2.0 higher throughput Saphyr will be released in Q4, by the way, will come with extra innovations, maybe, potentially. But at the same time, Eric has said before that there will not be extra innovations, so one may think that this is the end of speculation. I disagree, as that was a long time ago and things can always change. Plus, hiding the fact that something big is coming would give him and his team time to pick up some cheap call options like they just did recently, right? Who knows if there's anything coming as far as innovation in regards to Saphyr, but I think down the line there will undoubtedly be huge enhancements to the technology. I just do not know exactly when. Too long didn't focus. innovations in Saphyr and all products included in their kits is likely to happen. It is just a matter of time. Just look at any major technology. Compare the first version to the current version, right? You compare the first phone to today's phone, right? There's innovation always. And with the Saphyr, I think we're looking at the first iPhone. I really do. I think Saphyr is going to have 1,000 different versions, not 1,000, but you get what I mean. A ton of versions with innovation on each one of them. Innovation and enhancements are almost inevitable, especially with such a complex and esoteric technology. It is almost guaranteed to happen, in my opinion. Ape language, Sapphire get better over time, and Moon because of it. History and why BNGO started rising. Some reasons why Bionano started climbing. BNGO announced the publication of a study by the Human Genome Structural Variation Consortium, revealing that their sequencing method based on PacBio hi-fi reads detected only 72% of the large structural variations that Bionano's optical genome mapping detected across 32 different human genomes. The consortium developed its custom sequencing method by combining sequencing with PacBio and the single-strand prep and sequencing method of StrandSeq to establish a comprehensive catalog of human structural variation with base pair and haplotype resolution. The cost of this PacBees method, based on list pricing, to be $3,000, typically more than $10,000, and $20,000 per genome. Right, that's the range. Optical genome mapping with Saphyr, which costs less than $500 per genome, was shown to be significantly more sensitive than the sequencing method and much faster. There's your sources, and you will have to dig a bit if you use these, my friends. And also, you will. I was going to say you can copy and paste this, but this is not a quote, so you cannot. And it was founded in 2003. Bionano Genomics is currently headquartered in San Diego, California. Public company since 2018. There's some extra information for you for the company. Too long didn't focus. They started mooning because of Saphyr's breakthroughs and were founded in 2003. Ape language, Saphyr good, BNGO goes up because of it. Number 13, management experience and credentials. Almost all of this comes from these three sources. Now, with this one I think is the longest one we have here. It is, I don't even know. It's about, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. It's about 4 pages, and most of this is just credentials here. I'm just going to leave the PDF document for you if you want to fact check me on this, but we are just going to do the too long did not focus section here because it's pretty obvious and pretty easy to say that, yeah, hey, these are facts. This is what they used to do. So I don't think there's a need to actually read through all of this. So I would just go ahead and do the too long didn't focus version for you guys, my friends. Go read the PDF document for a full reading through of this section here. Too long didn't focus. Bionano CEO is extremely credentialed and has a great track record, and based on his education and past work in biology and genomic studies, he really knows what he's doing when it comes to how practical and how innovative his technologies are. And the rest of the management, I'll go ahead and say they are not. I mean, they're not insanely great. I mean, I'd like to see the chief medical officer. I like a lot as well. Besides that, there's no one that really stands out for me. But the CEO is absolutely amazing. I will say these other ones are good, right? 20 years history of success, right? Yes, there's nothing crazy though. CEO, I think his sentiment and his understanding and articulation, that is something that I don't even say in this here, but he really knows what he's doing, I believe. And I think he's going to do great things for this company and for our shares and for our attendees. And it was Ape language, BNGO team good, so they know what they're doing. Number 14, future potential. Illumina acquisition, optical genome mapping, making other competing spaces obsolete and growth. Saphyr already has made these spaces here mostly obsolete and large structural variation detection. They already have completely, in my opinion, in that field. The biggest upside surprises are going to come from the genomic space, and that's because the convergence of DNA sequencing, artificial intelligence, and gene therapies are going to cure disease. That's Kathy Wood now. Take that for what it is, right? Although she's not necessarily bullish on optical genome mapping, we already know that Saphyr complements the sequencing technology she is talking about. Plus, the market that Bionano is set to disrupt is set to grow massively. That is only more potential demand, for Bionano to take over, maybe, right? If they do. Not to mention the fact that ARC listed Bionano in the genomic toolkit is expanding to provide a fuller, richer, and more accurate view into biology. So whether or not, Bionano is not necessarily listed in the convergence of DNA sequencing, artificial AI, and gene therapies, right? They're not necessarily listed in that, but we are listed, and we are intrinsically included in a complementing way of DNA sequencing, right? We've seen that with this article right here, we've already seen that in this article right here, and we've seen that they are a part, according to ARC, in expanding to provide a fuller, richer, and more accurate view into biology. They are listed. So, nonetheless, this is bullish nonetheless, man. Anyways, number 3 here, at least a decent chance, probably more like a high chance in my opinion, of finding at least one or a few or aiding in a discovery of a few enhanced technologies or techniques. The total addressable market for this is potentially every single market out there, right? And then you can read the 5 print if you care to do the PDF version or zoom in a lot. But certainly these: leukemia, ALS, FSHD, that's the muscular dystrophy one, cancer, Alzheimer's, autism, miscellaneous neurodegenerative diseases, right? This one may be a little iffy, okay, blah, blah. Illumina, a potential bio candidate, though. And remember, this is a wide one. I know this is a wide one, but this is just some important stuff that I think everyone here should know. This is stuff that is likely to happen. They're probably going to aid in some discoveries of stuff, right? This is something that you guys need to know, and this is, of course, backed up by a ton of evidence. I'm giving you my sources left and right. Illuminate potential biocandidate. Eric, what's unique about us is that we can see structure, but we cannot see point mutations, and it's the inverse for sequencers. For example, the sequencers that Illumina sells, you can see point mutations but not structures. So we are a very perfect complement to sequencers out in the field. There's your source, convenience. Plus, Bionano's relatively extremely small total addressable market, or I should say, really market cap, more like for Illumina, is compared to BNGO, what BNGOs could be if they disrupted and partially ended Illumina's dominance and strength, is really convenient. That's essentially the point I'm trying to make here. Also, many products intrinsically come with built-in obsolescence. However, Bionano can update their software and incorporate new kits, Saphyr innovations, or improvements at any time. Unlike much of their composition, feel free to read the fine print if you are on the PDF or if you'd like to fact check me. Their headcount has increased by 10% in the last 6 months. They are also hiring at the moment. Most sources indicate that hiring is a positive sign for growth of business. Also, I mean, let's be honest here. Also, logically, right? If we think through this, if they are hiring, that means the demand for their work is greater than the supply, probably, given that they are willing to risk the added expenses of a higher headcount for the added production and output. And of course, you have fine print here as well. Yes, on these claims that I have to make that are kind of opinionated, I have to add those claims, those little disclaimers that you have to zoom in to see if you're, on the PDF. Control plus, by the way, if you want to go ahead and do that. Too long didn't focus. A buyout is not off the table, as it would make sense from my point of view for a major player like Illumina or PacBio to buy Bionano before they become a more dangerous threat with all of the possibilities that optical gene mapping has, right? It seems more strategic to buy them now before their price tag increases, right? With all that potential, and they'll have that potential once they buy them. Seems like a small price tag to pay if you believe in optical genome mapping potential at all. Also, if you care about your business, because once optical genome mapping takes off, if it does, their business is done, dude. They're screwed. They're going to get disrupted. Their industry is disrupted and done. But there have been no rumors for biohints really, so I do not think it's super likely. However, I think a buyout would very much make sense for the bigger players in the genomic space. It just comes down to what they see in optical genome mapping and how arrogant and how safe they are in terms of their market that they have right now and how much they want to protect that. So I hope that makes sense. There's a lot there, I know. The future is full of questions for Bionano, possibilities, optical genome mapping's full potential, and what discoveries it would make. It's full of questions, right? No one knows for sure. With no risk of built-in obsolescence, investing in Bionano for continued innovation may be very auspicious. And that is currently why I am partly why I am invested as well. Ape language, future attendees for BNOG shareholders. Risks that are not so obvious. NAB sees indirect competition, finds a way to replicate Saphyr's technology, then we would get death and carnage. However, it's not really there because this is impossible from my understanding, right? Bionano has more than 252 issued and pending patents protecting its Saphyr system, so I just don't think they legally can't sell. They can't replicate the Saphyr, right? They have to find their own thing. It can't really do anything that is going to violate these patents here that I do have linked for you. Bear market could disproportionately affect BNGO. Every low cap stock has outperformed the market also has this risk, right? So it's like, is that really that big of a risk? And take it for what it is, though. No FDA approval, but as we've already proved, Saphyr does not need it. So I do not see this as a potential headwind. It's not a headwind. If anything, this would just be an added boost of interest because I just don't see this. I don't see this pushing the stop. It can. FDA approval certainly can send a stop price like this because every time FDA approval happens in another stock, that's what happens. But in this case, it's just logically FDA approval is not really needed. So it's just, I don't know if smart money is going to agree with the retail investors who are like, yeah, let's go, let's buy in FOMO. You know what I mean? But I totally want it to send it to the moon because it's going to happen eventually, most likely at least. Or Bionano realizes that they don't even need it really, but we'll see what happens. They could use it, I guess. I don't know everything. Innovation stops, no new discoveries. There's no logical reason I can think of to say why this would happen, but technically this is a risk because it's technically possible. So innovation stops, no new discoveries, right? Everything that we know about the company leads us to believe there will be innovation and continued discoveries, but who knows? Who knows, man? Long read sequencing, next generation sequencing, the short read sequencing, their innovation is not even close to leveling off, as Bionano CEO says, and money and interest shifts to them as Bionano becomes forgotten. That is a risk, and of course, this is a little bit funny at this point. Okay, according to the CEO of Bionano himself, the next big wave of innovation in biology will come from optical genome mapping. He could be wrong, and Bionano could be wrong, but that is the best source of information that can come from him, in my mind. That is, what else can you want? It's the CEO telling us that is not true, right? So, he can be biased, but he knows he has access to the most information out of anyone in optical genome mapping. So, we could get more offerings, further diluting and reducing the proportional value of our shares. However, I think this is very unlikely, even if we are at all-time highs, as the Chief Financial Officer, Chris Stewart, said that Bionano believes its cash stockpile significantly de-risks the company, solidifies our financial future, and allows us to focus on the achievement of our long-term vision to disrupt genomics through the global adoption of Saphyr. Too long didn't focus. There are currently legitimate risks, and Bionano can get them listed, but the only way I am selling is if the CEO gets shot in the head, because the risk-reward ratio for Bionano is a no-brainer from my perspective. Ape language, buy BNGO because risks are small compared to rewards. Analyst price targets. There you go. This is according to the Webull analyst widget. Here, I'll go ahead and show you it so you can fact check me here because I don't really have a link for this page. I just have a link to Webull. So here's that's for a different stock. Oh my gosh. Here you go. Okay, so it's 1275, 1392, and then 15. So let's see if that matches up. 1275, 1392, 15. 75, 92, 15. There you go. Boom, boom, boom. All right. Next up, market manipulation, 17, and short interest. So price action has nearly always completely ignored and neglected every good piece of news that we've gotten since February 16th. Insider transactions, getting calls. These are the good pieces of news that the price action has ignored, and this is reasons for market manipulation. Like why else would people ignore this kind of crazy news, like insiders picking up leap call options? Why that doesn't make sense unless market manipulation is going on, right? So that's one. IVF and / infertility aids and potential market there. UK adoptions, commitment to buy many Saphyr kits, right? Higher throughput Saphyr and Saphyr 2.0 with possibly new innovative features besides higher throughput Saphyr. When we beat earnings and when we got this announcement and all the 5 new catalysts for 2020, we got good guidance, good plan for 2021. The stock price went down after we beat on revenue, we beat on earnings per share, and we beat on we didn't beat, but we had a good guidance. So how do you explain that if it's not market manipulation? I don't, and this is not just one. It's not. Oh, it's a coincidence, man. It's a coincidence. How can it be a coincidence if there's this many times of it happening, man? You cannot explain that with a coincidence, in my opinion. CEO is extremely bullish statements on his company, including paraphrase: optical genome mapping's innovation has just begun, and long-read sequencing's innovation is dry and totally finished. Nano nozzle, we have already been over that. Use the YouTube chapters if you want to skip back to that. $3 billion total addressable market, genetic labs, CEO's words. Saphyr adoption in Africa. I could go on, but for the sake of time, I would just say more studies and publications validating optical genome mapping in use. Okay, countless presentations such as this. Analysts getting way more bullish on BNGO. There's 1,000 of them. Literally, I can list so many. Short interest recently increased dramatically. Not really dramatically, I would say. Yes, dramatically, technically, but not. It was like 1.5% increase. It wasn't insane. It wasn't crazy. Complete disregard for trend lines, chart patterns, and strong indicators like the middle weekly Bollinger Band, 21 to SMA. Very strong revenue in EPS. We barely moved. When bears and non-believers often claim that Bionano's financials are the number one red flag, it's like, really, bro? My 2021 revenue preliminary projections for BNGO are easily looking to be significantly higher than 50% year-over-year revenue growth, and it is way higher. It is like 130 to 150% year-over-year revenue growth. And of course, I don't know if everyone else is just not smart enough to do this. I'm not a genius. Heck no, I'm just a guy. I'm just a guy on YouTube, man. I'm just an ape like you. I'm just an ape looking at websites and searches and trying to find information calculation just like y'all, man. But the projections are so easy to calculate, and I'm conservatively estimating a higher than the analyst projection, and no one cares. And is it unknown to the mainstream? Are people just too lazy to calculate 2021 revenue projections for a stock that they may be owning? I don't know, but this is another thing that it's like, wow, revenue is looking like it's going to be amazing this year due to all these reasons that I gave above. But no one cares about that one either. But also, that's a bonus one. That one's not as concrete as these others, I would say. Short interest has by no means gone up dramatically. That's funny because I just said it went up dramatically, didn't I? Oh my gosh, I'm going to change that for the final draft on Reddit. But anyways, that's why I'm going over it now, right before I proofread, before I go ahead and post it on Wall Street Bets, where I'm going to get torn apart if there's a spelling error, Short interest has by no means gone up dramatically, but we saw an increase during April. As of April 15th, there was short interest totaling 29 million shares, an increase of 1.5% from the previous total of 28 million shares. Here's your source right there. Also, you can just look at Webull short interest, not on the desktop. And unfortunately, it doesn't have the short interest on desktop that I've found, at least on the mobile it does. So there's no definitive proof of market manipulation, but these reasons lead me to believe that there's a chance, greater than 50% chance in my opinion, that some sort of institution, broker, influencer, market manipulator is manipulating the price by stifling PR effect, press release effect, paid off PR, shorting, puts, selling, spreading panic-inducing rumors, etc. in unknown ways, unknown to retail investors, of interfering with Bionano's stock price. And bottom line, Bionano's fundamental value has only gotten better since 1569, the peak. Their tech likely will bring further innovation and revenue increases through higher Saphyr sales, and all reasons mentioned in the financial section could take BNGO to a valuation no one can imagine, and all this has kind of come to light after 1569 largely. Stock keeps going down. So if that's not strong evidence for this, my friends, I don't know what is. And it's not for sure, but I think it's very likely with all this evidence. Too long didn't focus. Market manipulation seems likely to have occurred before and maybe is likely to continue to happen again in the future. So doing full due diligence and having a clear plan is essential for BNGO shareholders to avoid panic selling and helping the market manipulators effectuate their corruption by making money off us. That is to avoid panic selling and to avoid helping the market manipulators effectuate their corruption by making money on you and me, my friends. Ape language, suits cheating, bingo undervalue. A few analysts and journalists' thoughts. There you go. You can do the PDF version, get all these people's thoughts. Okay, if anyone cares about analysts, yeah, I don't really. At least, I do a little bit. I just, analysts, they don't know anything more than we do. But if you want some more, maybe credentialed, I guess, if you consider journalism a career anymore these days, right? There you go. I got all the links for you right there, my friends. Number 19, marketing. Being one of the most important aspects of business, marketing is more important than many companies realize. Bionano has an absolutely superb marketing team, in my opinion. Twitter, website, LinkedIn. There's some of the resources that I gauged my. This is totally opinionated. I guess you could say their marketing sucks if you hate how their Twitter looks or you hate their updates, their daily updates. I don't think you can do that. And their website is sweet as well. They're on LinkedIn, so which will likely benefit them massively as they continue to rapidly increase sales on a year-over-year basis. And remember, as they get more sales, their marketing becomes more important because the more customers you have, if your site is not updated, not good, you're not posting social media, you're not keeping up with the times, modern social media promoting, right? That's going to hurt your sales overall in a huge way. Too long, it didn't focus. Good employees, good team, good luck, good social media presence, and investor relation presence. Stock go boom. Ape language by bingo now. Let's go. Number 20, institutional ownership. Low institutional ownership is actually a good thing. Please hear me out in the mid to long term, maybe even the short term. And number A here, 5.37 institutional ownership according to Fintel.io, 4.60% institutional ownership according to FinViz. I hate how they give you different information. You can look at Yahoo Finance and Simply Wall Street, and actually they don't have they do have you can look at those sources too if you want to further exact number, but I don't really care for right now. This is what I care about. Although this is considered as average or low institutional ownership, right? More considered, I guess most people consider this low, right? I think this is actually a good thing. Because ask yourself this: what type of stocks do institutions invest in? Not all of them. What do most institutions invest in? Stocks with a concrete and specifically defined niche and market that is providing stable revenue and are profitable. Right? Not many questions. Right? They want stability. They don't want risk. They prefer safety over innovation. All right, among other things as well. But they prefer stable growth and safety over innovation and potential. That's the number one thing you need to understand here. This is not necessarily a bad strategy, but in this situation, because Bionano's product and markets are so esoteric and hard to follow and not stable and not safe and more innovative and potentially, more potential, more innovation, more future growth, more potential in the market that they're doing, right? You can read this little fine print if you want. Because you and I have done the digging that I guarantee you many institutions have not, many of the institutions are probably thinking, right there, many suits are probably thinking, why waste time digging into a company that is unprofitable, driven largely by hype? That's what they think. Okay, it's not. It's that it's done. It's nowadays after many people, after 10,000 people, million people see this video and realize that, hey, this is not hype. We actually have legitimate reasoning here as to why the Saphyr is actually has legitimate things behind it, right? And retail investors with so many questions around how the technology works in a space where long read sequencing and next generation sequencing dominate the market. Why would they even? I guarantee you, many institutional investors do not even give it the amount of effort you right now, my friend. You are watching. The person that is watching right now, you are in regards to understanding Bionano. If you watch all this video, you understand more about Bionano than many of the institutions did when they wrote them off and just passed them out. When they're analyzing what companies to go and they just don't even give them a chance, man. I guarantee you that's what they do because the product and markets are so esoteric and hard to follow for Bionano. That's why I did this due diligence to give people like me that before I understood Bionano, give them a chance to see what kind of technology and what kind of opportunity we have here, man, and to see the market manipulation that's probably been going on and how we can kind of fight back potentially. Even given the amount of effort you are in regards to understanding Bionano, which is a reason why I actually think retail investor interest and volume has been so low because it's also not only institutions are have a proclivity to not look at stocks that are esoteric and hard to follow. Retail investors have the same thing, although institutions more so in this case, right? Because there's such a proportionally low institutional ownership compared to retail investors. But considering the huge run up we have really never have. Considering the huge run up, we really never have had a huge volume since the initial run to $10 a share. I know it's a little confusing there, but besides the huge run up at the start, we really have never had huge volume since that first one, since the $10 a share. Right? Let me show you exactly what I mean. Since before right here, these first couple of days, we've never had huge volume. And you may be thinking, yeah, this is big volume. For a company that's went up so much, that's went up as much as it did, Bionano did, the volume is nearly nothing, my friends. It is nearly nothing. Okay? What people need to understand, what people need is a thread like this written in plain English with sources and an emphasis on the facts and opinions, especially in the My Plan section, that can grant them with the knowledge and understanding of why the potential in the company like this is so high. Institutions will invest once they see year-over-year revenue growth and more Saphyr adoptions and sales, which we are getting almost every week or two now, it seems, with the UK, Africa. The commitments are being made, man. Commitments for sales and revenue and money and Burr and Portfolio Go Bird for Bionano is there, man. The suits look at just the red flags and neglect the importance of looking for the justification of the stock's run-up, which lies partly in the esoteric nature of the Saphyr's possibilities to discover revolutionizing enhancements in medicine, preventative care, susceptibility awareness, new cures and markets that no one is paying attention to or even likely knew about before reading or watching this market section. Please understand that because of the esoteric nature of Bionano, institutions we're likely to not even give them a chance. And once they see once they see the Bionano kind of shore up some of those red flags, like, oh, they're so volatile, they have no growth, they're not profitable. Once we get rid of that stuff, man, get some of that stuff cleared up, you better bet you're behind, okay? Because I'm not trying to cuss this video for promoting purposes. Anyways, you better be darn sure that you invest in Bionano before the institutions do. In my opinion, that's what I'm doing. At least that's what I'm doing. You should not necessarily do that because these guys, it's inevitable for these guys to get in my opinion. I could be totally wrong. Too long didn't focus. Although institutional ownership is low, this may actually be a good thing. If Bionano's revenue growth is anything like what I or analysts are projecting, it means we can get in before the big money realizes what they are missing. That is the key point. This means low institutional ownership, this means we can get in before the big money realizes what they're missing. And if I'm right at all, if my synthesis and extrapolation in this due diligence is right whatsoever, these guys will be getting in. The markets that they are in, the concrete, it's only going to go up. The institutional adoption is only going to go up as Bionano becomes a more surefire company, if you will, more successful. Ape language, buy before suits. Section number 21. We're almost there, my friends. Miscellaneous. Comment anything that I should add if it's important, and I will add it in this section. Most likely, Saphyr physical map with PACD product was being used to reconstruct genomes from different ethnic groups entirely from scratch. Some things that they may be able to do because of this susceptibility awareness, disease proclivity, and to typically the more we understand, the better our cures and solutions are. We also have a shareholder vote on June 10th at 10 a.m. Pacific times. There's your instructions and details right there. Look at the PDF, see the PDF for this. Some of the institutions using Saphyr now have been lent it by Bionano and are getting it almost a free trial. In the aggregate, we can assume that at least some, if not a majority of places testing it, will find it useful enough to keep, which means revenue that is not accounted for yet, but will add up quickly for 2021 total revenue. That kind of is a really good ending point for this point right here. That's a good transition. Apparently, Illumina and Quest are on our accounts receivable, meaning they owe us money essentially. I have not been able to find anything about this anywhere, so please reach out at this email and send me some of your links so I can fact check this and add it into an above section for the Reddit thread and the Twitter thread before we do that. So I can edit in there. I can't really edit the YouTube video, but I can at least edit that. So let me know. And then any of the other things that I forgot, I will add here on the Reddit thread, and you can just go see that. I'll have the link in the comment, pinned comment, I'm sure as well. So number 22, you have to keep in mind, I'm not really giving my reasoning for these thoughts and my reasoning here because the entire document is my reasoning, right? This entire 73-page document, that's my reasoning. As of now, as of today, as of May 1st, I'm holding 560 shares in a Leaps call option, long-term equity anticipation security, expiring in 2023. It is my goal to continually add more shares as time goes on, as I think it's only a matter of time before Bionano moons. Here we go, portfolio showcase. Boom, here we go. For anyone who is wondering if I am telling the truth, there's my 560, and then my 3 contracts, BNGO, $5, it's in the money. There's my Leap, expiring 20th of January 2023. My friends, there you go. I am seriously bullish on the company. I seriously believe in it. Is my goal. Okay, I already said that. There are 2 contingencies to this, though. If something fundamentally changes, drastically changes with the company or with the markets, if the NASDAQ and S&P 500 and or drop into a bear market, as long as my YouTube channel, that is one contingency, and as long as my YouTube channel continues to grow, I will post daily updates. I guess that is the only, no, those are the 2 contingencies, right? If something fundamentally changes or bear market, those are the 2 contingencies. And also, as long as my YouTube channel continues to grow, I will post BNGO updates 6 out of 7 days a week, and typically along with NASDAQ updates so everyone can see exactly if I'm adding, selling, short-term expectations, and anything even closely related to Bionano stock. As for the what determines a drop into bear market territory, I do NASDAQ updates all the time, so make sure you look at the channel, subscribe to the channel, and look at the NASDAQ updates for that. The evidence for market manipulation in Bionano stock is not nearly as strong or convincing as the evidence for market manipulation in GameStop stock. But hear me out at least on this little synthesis. Should and could Bionano be the next GameStop? Not as in replacing GME, but rather should retail investors join forces in attempts to screw over the market manipulators who have been doing this to us and to our ancestors for decades, maybe centuries? I certainly want it to be. I think market manipulators have likely done their worst to Bionano, and if we as retail investors see eye to eye on this, I think we could quickly eradicate all illegal and corrupt activity the suits have effectuated, at least for Bionano stock. This is not in the name of revenge, but rather to give the suits a cloud of doubt in their mind next time they want to screw everyone over and use all their energy to manipulate stocks and innervate the middle and lower case, which means to drain all the energy of us. Before you go and say, Brandon, you're just trying to pump the stock, you're biased, man. Yes, I am biased, obviously, in wanting Wall Street Bets to hop on the BNGO train. I could profit at least temporarily. I could pump and dump, but that is precisely why if Wall Street Bets, even if some of them decided to embrace this idea, I would be holding all of my shares until maybe after we moon 3x, 5x, 10x, and continue to record and showcase my portfolio every single trading day on YouTube. But I would only be doing this if Wall Street Bet actually was on board and agreed with me that in that market manipulation synthesis and wanted to work together to collectively huddle to screw everyone over. This would have to be a lot of Wall Street Bets people. I don't know how many upvotes it would take my post to get. I don't know, at least a couple hundred, if not a couple thousand. And I would hold. I'm serious. I would be. You just want the glory. You just want to be the next deep effing value, right? You just want to be famous. You just want to be the YouTube guy. I'm not gonna lie. I would not. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. That stuff is attractive to me. I do like that. I do have the desire for those things. But I also would be totally transparent and honest, and I am honest when saying that this is a good cause, and I truly do believe there's a very high chance that market manipulation happened, and I think that we can show these guys a lesson if we actually work to join together, buy a ton of shares, buy the ask, whatever, anti-short laddering tax. I don't even know I don't even do the whole GameStop. How do you combat market manipulation and short attacks, right? I don't even do that stuff, man. So you guys have to help me out. But I will be adding holding shares, more leaps contracts, adding on the supports, adding as we break out, right? And holding until we 3x, 5x, 10x, man. So it's let me know what you guys and if you're a representative of Wall Street Bets, right? If you're a Wall Street Bets guy and you're like, heck no, man, heck no, that sounds horrible. There's just not enough evidence for market manipulation. I recommend you to go to the market manipulation section here, number 17 here. Use the YouTube chapters to do that for market manipulation, and I will give you that case. I give that case for market manipulation and Bionano stock price. If you are unconvinced, as I said, see the market manipulation. And I understand compared to Wall Street Bets, target stock standards, short interest is very small. The short interest is very small, but that's not why I want to do this. I want to do this because the market manipulation is almost overt and patently clear, to me at least. It's nearly 100% of my mind thinks that market manipulation has happened. In Bionano stock price, I firmly believe that. I really do. So yeah, see the market manipulation section if you have not already. I don't really want to give an end of year price targets. It is impossible to say when many of the potential catalysts, when revenue boosters are come in. But I know I do give price targets in all my videos. My viewers, my real viewers, my fans here or followers know this. And I also, this is the real reason, I want to try my best to keep this as unpumpy as possible. However, I think it is likely that we will see all-time highs and beyond before end of the year. That is my firm belief. I do believe that with basically all of my being, but of course I could be wrong. It's just an idea. So it's just a thought. So too long didn't focus. I am bullish and will look to add more shares as time goes on, especially if we see lower than $6 a share again. Ape language, BNGO go moon, and bingo goes burr. Here are all of these sources. The PDF is going to be available for download down below. This took me, oh boy, I don't even know. This took me way too long for me to say, but disclaimers and pretty irrelevant to BNGO DD. We're going to get into this stuff now. So auspicious dissenT. This is pretty irrelevant. Please click off now if you have better things to do. This is my part where I tell you guys what you can do for me if you appreciated this stuff right here. No money. I'm not asking for money. I'm not saying, oh, click my Weeble link. Okay, I do have a Weeble link if you want to click. Okay, I do earn a commission out of with no extra cost to you, my friends. But this is some free stuff that you can do for some free investing resources. My YouTube channel, I post almost daily updates on BNGO and other stocks such as Microvision, Nano Dimension, MP Materials, Skills, Jumia, CTXR, and a plethora of others. I stream almost every day now. My website, honestly, this is basically just a plug. It's free, but most people reading this probably don't need anything on there. It's mostly for beginners, but it is cool. It is awesome, and it looks sweet. So my Twitter, I post update a few times a week about stocks, sometimes daily. Contact me at auspiciousbusiness.yahoo.com. If I missed something, if I forgot something, if you think I should add something, whatever it is, I will. For this YouTube video, because I know I can't edit the video once it's done. I guess I technically can, but I probably won't. I would just pin your comments if I missed something that you think is important enough to add into this due diligence thread. Anyway, disclaimers, boys. Here we go. Disclaimers, and then I'm going to end this video, boys. Sources disclaimer. Site Wikipedia offices are very okay. I'm not even going to read this. I'm just going to highlight this stuff and just say, okay, sources disclaimer and copy and pasting disclaimer. Okay, yeah, I copy and paste stuff. Quotes, yeah, I do. How reliable is Wikipedia? Sources disclaimers, career disclaimer, not financial advice. Okay, there you go. That's your chance to read all this. And the fair use one and affiliate link disclaimer. Okay, I recommend stuff. I will earn a commission at no extra cost to you. Copyright disclaimer. This is all fair use. I use it if I took any of your information. If you feel like I took your information, you're the copyright owner of something. I'm protected by fair use, my friend, because this is for educational and teaching purposes and criticism and news purposes only. Yes, they are for all this. This is educational purposes right here. For purposes such as education, these so-called fair uses are permitted even if the use of the work would otherwise be infringing. So for Bionano, I know I use the little graph there in their little PDF document. Well, it is for education, my friends over at Bionano, and I'm just trying to help your stock price, so I don't think you want to take this down. Anyways, thank y'all so much. This is the end. Showcasing BNGO shares and portfolio for transparency. Let's do that one more time. There you go. Showcasing track record. Let's showcase that track record. since I started YouTube, I've made month out price targets and I have an accuracy of 65%. And of course, it's easy to say now, but I would like to say these price targets are by no means conservative. I mean, you're looking at least a 25% upside projection for all of the price targets that I made. I was like almost perfectly right on the first one. Second one did much worse. So that is the little track record there. But the more important track record is the portfolio, 27% in like 4 or 5 months. So that is the track record there. Showcasing my channel and what we do here. So if we take a look at the channel, Auspicious dissenT. So we do Bionano, we do CTXR, we do live streams every day. I have them upcoming. I do technical analysis indicators and technical analysis simplified. I do wealth creation through Auspicious beginner stuff. Why Weeble is nice for beginners, options, basic options, SAR, Bollinger Bands, RSI. We do pretty much everything stock related here, man. It's pretty sweet channel. If you go to the about here, you got all the auspicious links. You got your little description here. So yeah, man. And then you go to the playlist there. You got your nice, sweet little playlist there. So that's what we kind of do on the channel. That's what our channel looks like. So plug. Please feel free to click off at this point. Yeah, these are all plugs. Please feel free to do this. Also, last thing, why I put ads on this video. I put ads on this video because I'm sorry for selling out a little bit. I said I would never put ads at one point. Yes, things change. I'm sorry. I didn't know you could do ads without being disrupted. But on this video, I am going to be hammering y'all with ads. I'm sorry. I know. I think it's justified though. This video took, as you can probably tell in my voice now, my energy now. It took everything I had, and a lot of sacrifices were had to made as far as friends, family, relationships, time, and not just for this, right? This took, this took like 3 days of me working way more than I should have, but I've made a ton of sacrifices for the channel and for the business here. And I do it for fun. That's so grim. That's so dark. I'm like, oh, I'm so depressed. It's so hard, the business. No, I'm extremely thankful. I live in America, and I love that I was born in America, and I get this amazing chance to do anything I want. We're one of the only countries in the world that we get complete freedom almost. I mean, that's changing. I guess that might be changed a little bit now, but we have freedom. I love America. I love where we are. I'm super thankful. And I want to say I love what we do here. I love the job. I love the YouTube channel. I'm very passionate at videos every day. And now, assuming I can edit this. Oh, I'm not even done yet. I have to edit all this timestamps and Reddit posts. I'm not done at all. I was shooting this, but by the time you're seeing this, I am done with this work, and we will get back to the normal CTXR, nano dimension, and microvision, Bionano technical analysis. We are getting all of this stuff. Everything's going to go back to normal after this video is out. And please, for my followers out there, last thing I promised them, we're going to end it. If you are ever going to promote a video or share a video or like or comment or subscribe or whatever, please, this is the video to support me on. I'm going to be doing YouTube ads. I'm going to be using all my connections that I've cultivated over the last couple of months, my business relationships. I'm going to YouTube ads. I'm going to pay money YouTube ads. I'm going to do that. The promotions, I'm going to text it to all my friends and all my contacts. Literally, I'm going to email it to everybody. I'm going to post on StockTwits, Reddit, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn. I'm going to post. This is the video. If you want my channel to blow up, please. If you want to increase the Bionano interest, I'm just begging at this point. Oh my gosh, I feel so dirty just begging. Like, sub. I'm not going to say that stuff, but please consider for the reason of increasing Bionano stock price and volume in an organic and non-corruptive way. Show people this video because the due diligence here is legit. It took me this is basically just months of work here. And of course, I could miss something. We'll see if someone rips this whole video apart in the comments. If they do, I will pen the comment and take full responsibility. I will say I'm wrong. I forgot that, or this point is wrong. That's wrong. I made a mistake here. And do that. But this was months. This is not just a couple of days of working 10 hours a day. This was months of knowledge and covering Bionano stock price every day and doing an hour and more of research every single day for that video that I've done for 2 to 3 months straight. So thank you all so much. And if you want to promote the video, share the video, like it, give it to your friends, comment, whatever you want to do. I would greatly appreciate that, my friends. Of course, do whatever you want to do, but thank y'all so much. I will see y'all in the next one.